Hey guys, welcome back to RocketGyan, my fellow space tubers. Okay, so you can see that I have some problem with my throat because I wasn't very well, but right now I am feeling very much better, and we are back here again to witness the launches together. I was like waiting for this day for so long, and now finally it has come. So finally we have today's launch, which is a new Shepard launch of by Blue Origin of their NS-15 mission, as they term it as NS-15, and we'll talk about it. Hi Louis Smith, hi Kerbal Simulation, hi Richard Kerman, hi Boggy Hole Troll. Okay, so this is, first of all, if you don't know Blue Origin company, Blue Origin is a company headed by Jeff Bezos, and they are more into commercial sector for human space flight program. So they promote mostly space tourism, and yeah, so they make rockets like that. So they have this rocket. This is the new Shepard rocket which will fly today. This is how it looks like, and yep, this is fully reusable rocket. But the thing is, this is a suborbital rocket. This does not go to an orbit, and we'll see if we'll see in the live stream also. So talking about the rocket, let's just have a look at the rocket itself then. So rocket, here we have, we'll see the mission profile. So this is a fully reusable rocket, a beautiful, one of the beautiful looking rocket this is. As if you'll see the interior also, this has a very beautiful interior, and these are the landing legs and the engine. So the booster stage, so it's a two stage only, the capsule as well as the booster stage, that's it. And the booster stage has this wedge fins, and then this drag brakes. Wedge fins are deployed early during the descent, not the ascent but the descent, in which it provides more stability, and then the drag brakes are deployed when the atmosphere is very thick enough to slow down the vehicle. It uses sorry, it has a BE3PM engine which produces 489 kilonewton of thrust, and yeah, it runs on liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen as its fuel. So these are the aft fins which are movable, which you will see also before the launch. And yeah, this is pretty much about it. Let me just see if we have a launch coverage right now, and pardon me for my throat, and um if I cough in between, because I'm not very well right now. But yeah, let me just see once. uh we are waiting for them to come alive. Okay, fine. So we can talk more about it. So today's launch is a special one because here they will be testing the human space flight capability on this thing, and this is the final flight before they put humans on board this rocket. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is the mission profile, in which we have this new Shepard rocket lifting off. Then we have the separation. You know, um, it ignites the engine, has it runs the engine for some time, then it shuts down the engine, and then it coasts towards the apogee. Apogee is around 120 kilometers, if I'm not wrong. Separation, and then there is a separation which happens in between. Just a sec, guys. Pardon me. Let me just have some water. Otherwise, I won't be able to speak. Just a sec. Okay, so yeah, what I was saying. So yes, there is a separation of the capsule as well as the booster stage, which you can see here. Then the capsule and booster stage has different aerodynamic profile. So booster tends to come faster and earlier than the uh, capsule, so therefore it comes earlier, which we'll see. It deploys its wedge fins first, then the drag brakes, and then it reignites the engine and then lands. So this is how it enables reusability for this flight. Also the capsule which has been separated after some time, it also lands. And for today's flight they will be rehearsing the human spaceflight capability. So you will see that the staff, the Blue Origin staff, will be acting as astronauts. They will board the capsule, the rocket. They will perform what they call capcom, which is nothing but the communications check, and then they will perform some more checks before they come out of the capsule before the launch. So this is what they will do. This is the launch in which they will be rehearsing their actual when the actual flight will happen, the all those things. So they will be boarding in, communication checks will happen, or other checks will happen, then they'll be coming out, then the rocket will fly. Here's the interesting thing: the rocket will fly with the sky mannequin, which they will put in place. They won't have the humans on board for this flight. When the capsule lands, they will be again the staff will again be entering the capsule. They'll be closing the hatch, and then the recovery team will come in, and then they will rehearse that also, how they will evacuate the crew from the capsule after they land. So yeah, this is how today's flight will look like. So talking about flight, let me just see if we have no, we are just waiting for it. Let me just see if we have some updates from Blue Origin. Okay, so we do have an update which says we are currently on hold and will update with the new target launch time. Okay, we do have a hold right now. It's okay. That means we can have a look at means we can talk more about the flight, but right now they are on hold. We don't have any information as in why are they on hold, what went wrong, or whatever. So it's okay, we'll see. We'll get back, we'll have the launch coverage, and I'll pull up that for you. So talking about the flight for today, this is how the mission profile looks like. We can talk a bit more about in depth with of this rocket. So first of all, these aft fins, these are not just a normal passive fins, they are movable fins, and they are used to guide the rocket. Like we have grid fins in Falcon 9 booster, right? So here we have these aft fins which can move, and this is used to guide the rocket during the ascent, as well as during the ascent it provides stability. During the descent it provides stability, as well as uh, a bit of maneuvering also of the rocket. And then this is propelled on one single BE3PM engine, which runs on liquid oxygen and hydrogen as its fuel. So yeah, this is how it looks like. So they have this interesting engine. They have this BE3 engine for the new Shepard that we know. And then they have this BE4 engine, which will be used, if I'm not wrong, on the Vulcan. Yes, ULA's Vulcan will be uh, the rocket which will be using this BE4 engines. And talking about the BE3 engine, because that's what will fly today, we'll see this is how it looks like. It has you can see the various parts of the rocket: the nozzle, the main fuel valve, the oxygen, and the hydrogen turbo pump, thrust vectoral control system. From this view, it does not look like a very complex engine, as you can see here, but yeah, it's a capable engine, I should say that. Also, if you can see the plume coming out of the rocket, it's not clear, right? It is more like Delta for heavy here. And so yeah, and the reason being the ablator material on the nozzle. So there is a ablator material which is on the nozzle, which ablates off, causing the when the engine ignites, causing this color to the plume. This is for the Delta 4 heavy. Also, it uses liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, but we all know how the plume of liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen looks like from the shuttle. From the space shuttle, we could actually see that it's a very clear plume, bluish, rather bluish plume, I should say. So yeah. Just a sec. uh, So this works on an open expander cycle, which we can see here. It has the this um, pre-burner exhaust. There are two pre-burner exhaust in this because it runs on an open expander cycle. Although expander cycle is comparable to the this Raptor engine cycle, which is full flow stage combustion cycle. If we want, you can say the comparable efficiency with full flow stage combustion cycle, but less complexity, we go with expander cycle. And this expander cycle is used by ULA's Vulcan rocket. But here they use this open expander cycle. In normal expander cycle, that will be a closed one in which they won't be having these um, pre-burner exhaust pipes, uh, right? And but in the closed one, they won't be having it. But here you can see they had it. So yeah, that is the thing. And also this is the thing. I mean, if you are very much interested in human space flight or space flight in general, you can very well send your postcards to Blue Origin to fly with them and fly to space and then coming back. Blue Origin has this non-profit organization in which they collect the postcards or anything, postcards mainly, to send into space, and then they collect it, and then they send it back. So if you want something to go into space and to show off to your friends that I have something in my hand which went to space and then came back, you can send your postcards to them, because that is fully free of cost. They don't charge anything. uh, if we do they have anything about that on their website? Oh yeah, look at their interior, man. This interior, I love this interior. Whatever you said about the company, but this interior is very very cool. I mean, first of all, if you will notice, we have all of the crew members will get a window seat, you can see here. Also, this table like structure in between is nothing but a abort motor. This is a solid rocket motor, and yep, this has an abort capability. So that is the thing. And this is their new rocket which is coming up, the New Glenn, which will be powerful than Falcon 9 but less powerful than Starship, which is coming up. Just a sec, guys. Yeah, so yeah, my throat is killing me right now. But yeah, here we have this New Glenn rocket, which is a bigger rocket than Falcon 9, but not so big then. the Starship, and it is a reusable rocket which they have. So the problem with this rocket is that it is being in development for so long, and it was supposed to fly this year, but due to something which we don't know, they have delayed the first flight um, in the late part of 2022, if I'm not wrong, or 2023. I don't remember, but yes, this rocket has been delayed, and this is a reusable rocket. Just like Falcon 9, the booster stage will land on a drone ship awaiting the booster stage on the on the ocean. And the second stage is not reusable right now, but yeah, the first stage is, and it is a bigger rocket than Falcon 9. That's what it you can say. So here how the profile will look like. You can see here we have the ascent and all those things, the booster landing. It's a big rocket, 13 tons to geostationary transfer orbit, 45 tons to low earth orbit. See, this is how it beats all those I mean, this is this comparison is not what they call uh, comparison in respect with respect to their payload capacity. This is just the height. Okay, so uh, maybe the Falcon Heavy has more payload capacity. I don't remember. It's like 64 tons to low Earth orbit, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it's lesser than Falcon Heavy, but yeah, more than the mm, the Falcon 9 has 24, so it's double the amount of Falcon 9. It will be cool rocket to have, but we don't have it right now. In development, B4 engines will be used on it, and yeah, that is the thing. Let me just see if we have any update on the hold. Doesn't seem to have any update as such. And thank you so much. I just missed that. Thank you so much, Bogi Hold Troll, for your $10 super chat and super sticker, I should say. Thank you so much. It really, really helps the channel. And yeah, so let me just take your questions. First of all, hi, Iron the Space Explorer. What happened to my voice? My throat is not up to the mark right now. So yeah, hold. Yes, Rihanna, hold. It's not up to the mark. I'm a bit I'm not well right now. That's why I was not streaming also, but yeah, I'm back now. Blue Origin have potential for space mission, but they are very slow. At least they have to test in mass launching. Even they fail, just like Starship. See, this Blue Origin, which I think is a big problem, is that uh, they have not a good PR department, as they say. I mean, they are doing something which is very secretive. So either they are the underdog, or either they are very slow. So we have these two possibilities. Either we don't even know whether everything is going as per their plan or not. But right now, if they are not underdog, or you can say they are very slow in development, I could see a drastic change in Blue Origin's capability and development in coming years. And why am I saying that? Because we all know what Bezos has done, right? Bezos has stepped down as CEO of Amazon, and now he's heading Blue Origin to actually head Blue Origin and focus more on that company. He has stepped down as Amazon CEO. So we could see something very fast and very drastic happen um, for the Blue Origin company. Also, they are right now more in focus for the human landing system, which is here. Let me just have that for you. We can see that also. Human landing system. Yes, this is their human landing system. which is in collaboration with the national team, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, the national team for this thing, in which all these companies is making this human landing system for the Artemis mission. Blue Origin, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Draper. See, all these companies are very advanced, especially this Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. They are very famous for innovation in space technology. As we all know, Northrop Grumman just successfully, the previous day only, I just witnessed that news. The Northrop Grumman MEV-2 satellite, if I'm not wrong, docked successfully with an active satellite to boost its lifetime. So yeah, there was no docking port or something like that, but there is no other company doing that right now. So this technology and capabilities perhaps is being taken care of by the Northrop Grumman, and they did that. They docked with it, and now they are expanding the lifetime of it. Basically, what they will do is they docked with it, and now it is attached with this customer satellite, and now they will be using the MEV-2 satellite's own propulsion system to raise the orbit, to maintain the orbit, or do some inclination change or whatever they want to do, and boost its lifetime. So yeah, that's how they will be doing that. So this is a next step towards on orbit repairing, I should say. This is sort of repairing, because here you are saving millions and millions of dollars after one satellite expires or retires. Because mostly what happens during when the satellite retires is you actually don't get any problem with the functionality of the satellite. All the instruments and all those things actually work as they are intended to work. The problem is with the fuel, and when they are out of fuel, so they can't maintain the orbit. Even if it's at geostationary orbit also has this perturbations, which they say, which actually simply means that there are some influences of other gravitational bodies as well as Earth's, so which changes the orbit of the satellite. And geostationary orbit actually needs to be very, very precise. Otherwise, you won't be able to have that tagging at one location. So every other orbit needs some type of maintenance. So yeah, that is the thing. So talking about this human landing system, this looks like pretty complex, because it has this descent element which actually separates, and then this ascent element and this transfer element. So they have these three elements working together. The descent element will be made by Blue Origin, the ascent will be made by Lockheed Martin, and the transfer element will be made by the Northrop Grumman. So what all these things will do, first of all, descent element is what they will be using to descend down to the moon's lunar surface. Ascent element is like just like Apollo style element, you can say, in which the ascent element will be placed above it. If we can see, yeah, there you can see, this is the descent element, this is the ascent element. So this is right now fully attached, but during the ascent this will separate, and then gets docked to the transfer element. So this will not be directly be docking to the gateway. It will first dock to the transfer element, and then the transfer element will be like you can say the in orbit vehicle, which will take the ascent element to the gateway of the lunar surface. So right now, uh, Jeff Bezos always has this capability and this mindset of putting and developing technologies for moon. So this is what they are doing. Although SpaceX is like very much in race with this thing with their Starship, the lunar version of their Starship. But the problem is that it is right now still in development. The Starship version, normal Starship, is in development, and this human landing system is very much intact, and it is close to being fully developed. So yeah, that is the case. I should be changing the clock here. Just a sec. Why am I? Uh, yep. Here you go. Then hold. Yeah. I really like the interior spacing and arrangement. Really does allow equal opportunity for the flight experience by not having the traditional one person behind the other. Joseph, if you have talked about it, let me just uh, make you see the interior of it. I'll just love this interior. I am telling you that. I just love the interior. Do we have the photos? Yeah. I don't think so. This is the photo, but whatever. Just a sec. Where is the interior? Yes. Uh, does not feel like here. Maybe it isn't fly with us. Okay, yeah. Become an astronaut. You can do that. I have to search it. Just a sec. I just love the interior. And um, just a sec. Here we go. So this is their interior in which we can see actually the, yeah, here we go. The all of them will experience their every other astronaut, as they will say, because any person can now become an astronaut, will have this unparalleled view of the space when they will have they will board the capsule and then they will experience the space, although that would be for a very short time, but yeah, they will be experiencing it. And what else do we have? This is another view. See, this is how it looks like. Wow, I love it. I love it, I must say that. This is also so yeah, there are two companies which are right now targeting the commercialization of space, in which promoting space tourism. So this is the interior of the spaceship too, which is the Virgin Galactic version. So yeah, the Virgin Galactic version of uh, commercialization of human space flight. This is how the interior of that looks like. Here we can see that it has windows up above, and you can see here, although the people will be more here, but then also there is, you can say, more free space here in which they can roam, and they will have experience more of the zero gravity. But here they won't be experiencing for that long, around 1 minute to 2 minutes they will be experiencing in the blue origin. So yeah, that is the case. This is how the astronauts will look like when they are on board. It's pretty good, and we can also see this uh, f- display here, in which they will be mostly be showing the flight, the rocket parameters mainly, or what they should be doing in order to have the best experience possible. So yeah, that is the case. Let me see if we do have any update or not. Do we have any update? Okay. Wow. The hold is cleared. The NS-15 is now targeting a launch at 10:56 CDT. Hmm. Okay, so webcast will begin in 15 minutes from now. That is good. 10:56 CDT, which means how much time is left right now? Uh, 9:24. Okay, around 1 hour. So let me just update the clock here. Just a sec. My throat is killing me right now. I can't even speak properly. So, where is it? 20. Yeah. Okay, so this is we do have a good news here. The hold is clear right now, and we have this as the new timeline. Yeah, T-1 hour since they will since we will see the blue origin, but this will be an interesting webcast because we will be able to see the rehearsal activities of this company. Well, I guess that Blue Origin aims less. Aims less. Their New Glenn is taking way too much. Also, New Glenn is orbital and not linked to going to the moon. Yep. See, the Monarch Aerospace, the New Glenn is, you can say, a bit behind of its time when the Starship is fully operational. I don't think any rocket will be able to compete with it, and even only company which I'll see right now if Starship is fully operational and working will be the ULA, because their Vulcan's upper stage capability is uncomparable right now. Although the Starship's capability is also, means Starship is a upper stage itself and it has very unique capabilities by itself. But the thing is, the New Glenn has its unlimited restart in the orbit, as well as indefinite time spent in the orbit. The Vulcan stage is revolutionary. The upper stage, sorry, the upper stage of Vulcan is revolutionary. They say it as ACES, which is ACES, Advanced Cryogenic Evolution Stage, if I'm not wrong. That is what they think. Uh, Subspace aeronautics, the launch time is we have a launch time, so don't worry. Can radioisotopes be used for heating in Starship because space is cold and saving fuel? For heating Starship, see, we don't actually require to heat the Starship. We actually want the heating to not go off from the Starship, because the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane is cryogenic fuel, are the cryogenic fuels. We require them to stay at cryogenic temperature, so we don't require any specific heating, as they say. So yeah. Hi Christina, hi MM, hi Rohan Malik. Is in 15 on 20th April. Rohan, um, don't know yet. Right now, we only had a this cryogenic test for the SN15. It was successful, and then this uh, they installed some tiles also on an SN15. So we have to wait and see what do we get here. And do we have this? Nope. Come on, webcast start, please. So yes, what I was saying, the heat tiles were installed. So right now we only have the cryogenic test. prior test and it was successful, then we'll have a static fire and then we'll have the launch. So maybe by 20th April is, yeah, realistically speaking, 20th April could be a potential launch date, but right now we don't know for sure whether they will be. Also, this is SN-15, right? We know SN-15 has had some design changes, a major design changes. Also, a new generation of Raptors will be there. So, static fire, we can expect some problems during the static fire. So maybe this flight is delayed, but we'll have to see. Uh, just a sec right now. What else do we have? There is no fixed schedule on Starship test campaign. Everything is fluid. Yes, Michael, you are right. Come on. Okay, so we have around 6 minutes until the webcast goes live. So again, I'm telling you guys this, if you have just joined in, this webcast will be very much inclined towards the rehearsal for the potential human space flight for the Blue Origin's new Shepard rocket. This is the final flight in which they will be, before they actually put humans on board, and then humans will fly on the uh, this new Shepard rocket, which will enable one more company to provide human space flight capabilities, but not exactly, because this is a suborbital rocket, but still opening some new frontiers for you know, the normal people. They can book a seat and then at least experience some amount of zero gravity and see space from 120 kilometers above the surface. So that is the thing which people will be most excited for. Do you have seen the person who goes to Starship very close and film it from the bottom? Yes, I have seen it, and I don't like it as everyone, because we know it could have jeopardized the whole uh, development of the Starship, but that also raises some questions about the potential security of the SpaceX test, you can say, area. I mean, I would rather say that that person going into the that test facility is a more like a eye opener for the SpaceX security systems. At least they must have now upped the security system so that this thing does not, this trespassing does not happen now. Revtune, I know what you are talking about. Yes, that's a camera, that's not a person. But what Rihan is talking about is that there was one person who actually trespassed the test facility, went very near to the SN-11, if I'm not wrong. And it actually, that was a new YouTuber. And he vlogged the entire test facility, as well as he went very near to the Starship, took some photos of the engines from beneath the Starship, and yeah, so that was the thing. Yes. If you have any other questions, you can surely ask me, and pardon me, guys. Throat is a bit of an creating bit of an issue for me, at least. I have to. Okay, so yeah, these are the tweets which we were waiting for. The hold is cleared. The NS-15 is now targeting 10:56 CDT. Webcast starts in 15 minutes, which is around 3 minutes from now, and hopefully we'll see the things which we are actually excited to see. And yeah, I didn't complete my sentence there. So what they will do is, in this will be a rehearsal for the potential flight after this one, in which they will put the humans on board. So in this rehearsal, what they'll do, they will have the launch, means the Blue Origin staff as the astronauts. They will go in, check the communications, what they say, their technical term is capcom. They will check the communication, check other facility, other instruments and all, and then they will come outside of it. The rocket will launch, rocket will do its thing, go up, come down, land, and obviously the capsule will also land on the desert. And then what will happen? Then again, the staff will board the capsule. They will close the hatch, and then the recovery team will come. Recovery team will then practice its operation, in which they will open the hatch, evacuate the crew, and then take them home safely. So this is what they will be doing, and we'll be likely to be seeing some rehearsal activities and some interiors, likely interior of the uh, capsule. I am hoping to see that. I don't think so we'll be able to see the interior and the view from the inside when the vehicle is in flight, but maybe in this webcast we'll see the interior, in which when the astronauts are boarding and all. Let's hope we see that, because Blue Origin tends to hide some things. So yeah, let's hope we get to see that. Do we have the stream now? Still waiting now. Any other update? Does not seem to have any. Okay. NASA is doing operations with Boston Dynamics spot robot. Okay. Don't know yet, but NASA. uh, Okay, just a sec. I'll have to again get some water. Just a sec, guys. I have to get some water again. Here we go. We have the webcast now. Let me just switch over to that. Finally, we have the webcast. Just a sec. Okay. Okay. Here we go. And
the human need to explore is deep within all of us. Our ancestors crossed mountain ranges, sailed.
Command engine start. 2, 1.
And liftoff.
When our descendants look to the stars, perhaps from a rocky moon or colonies floating in open space, they'll remember these bold steps. We are of Blue Origin.
Touchdown.
And this is just the beginning.
that was a
Welcome, everybody.
Big
You are
bitch.
looking live at New Shepard from Launch Site 1 in West Texas. She's preparing for her 15th flight to space. I'm Ariane Cornell here with my co-host, Patrick Zaituni. Good to see you again, Patrick.
Hey, Ariane, and welcome, everyone. We're here in our Kent, Washington headquarters, and today is a very special day. In addition to flying a rocket into space and back, which is exciting in itself, we're actually going to be doing a dress rehearsal for our astronaut experience. So what does that mean exactly? We're going to have Blue Origin employees standing in for actual astronauts, going through all of the astronaut movements we're going to be doing in the future, including loading into our New Shepard crew capsule on the launch pad while it's fully fueled and ready to go.
Exactly, Patrick. Our stand-in astronauts are currently finishing last-minute preparation in our astronaut training center. And we expect them to merge at about T-minus 45 minutes, so coming up in about 12 minutes here. And of course, we're going to follow all the action as it unfolds. Now, to be clear today, there are going to be no humans on board flying to space, but everything leading up to that moment will be rehearsed under actual conditions. But before we get into today's details, we want to put some context around the entire New Shepard program and help define what step-by-step ferociously truly means. And there's nobody better to tell that story than Gary Lai. So Gary has been here at Blue Origin for over 17 years, and we call him the architect of New Shepard. We asked him to articulate how each launch has gotten us to today's moment, with safety, of course, at the heart of everything that we do.
For New Shepard, we've been following an aggressive step-by-step approach from the beginning. Because it is a robotic vehicle, we have the advantage of being able to take it through an entire flight test program to make sure it's safe for astronauts. We think it's very important not only to show that we have a very robust design, but that we can repeat the feat over and over again until we are satisfied that we have enough data to fly people on. That we have enough data to fly people on it. The first time we flew New Shepard, it went to space, and we demonstrated every single aspect of the operation of the capsule for re-entry, parachute deployment, and that mission was 100% successful for the capsule. M2 was about taking what we learned from that mission, rolling in changes, and trying it again.
Engine start, we have thrust. Touchdown.
This time we stuck the landing, but we wanted to do more than just show that it was possible one time, but we needed to show we could do it again. So that was what M3 was. We turned around the vehicle as quickly as possible and we flew it again to show that we could do it again in a relatively short amount of time. For M4, we pushed the envelope. We executed aerodynamic maneuvers on the propulsion module and crew capsule on reentry to really understand what they were capable of doing. The way that we land the propulsion module today, doing it just lighting the engine just seconds before it would impact the ground and doing this controlled landing, we perfected it at that time.
Human safety is fundamental to the design of both of the vehicles, but especially the crew capsule.
The capsule is the most highly redundant and safe space flight system we think that has ever been designed or flown. Every detail on that capsule, no matter how small, has been thought through carefully. We also did not compromise on fault tolerance, and that's the idea that you have redundancy, that if a system fails, you have a backup system, and in most cases, you have a backup to the backup system. For instance, the capsule is designed to be safe for astronauts if only one of the three main parachutes opens. And so we wanted to test that in real life on M5. So in M5, we intentionally did not deploy one of the main parachutes. In that situation, the retro rocket actually compensates for the higher descent rate by adjusting the amount of thrust, and it worked perfectly. Now, if the capsule is going down way too fast because it has only one parachute opening, then our third and fourth safety systems engage, which is a crushable section, sort of like a bumper. Then the seats have a scissor mechanism underneath them that has further energy absorption. The capsule has an escape system, which is designed in case there is something wrong detected on the propulsion module to get the astronauts away and get them to safety.
From the moment that we have closed the hatch, we can go escape enabled. And from that moment on, being this full envelope escape, we have very high confidence that we can keep people safe.
We've done a pad escape test where we can show that the capsule can launch and escape if there is an anomaly or an accident on the pad. The M6 mission was about testing that at its most stressing condition. We ignited the solid rocket motor in flight and showed that we could recover the capsule safely. For M7, what we introduced was a new capsule design that included the very large windows, seats, control systems on board that would control the environment in the cabin. That was the very first mission for that combined vehicle stack. and it was successful. M8 was just a repeat of M7 largely, and then the third escape test was to show that we could escape in space. So on M9, the propulsion module boosted the capsule to space, and after separation, the capsule lit off its solid rocket motor and re-entered and landed safely.
We've demonstrated with pad escape and the in-flight escape, transonic escape, that capsule escape system is solid.
Between M9 and M13, we are flying payload missions for customers, giving us even more and more confidence in the capability of the new Shepard system. 13 was a perfect flight, and we're preparing for the M14 mission, which will just be another verification and check. The overall mission of Blue Origin has remained completely the same. We are here to build the road to space.
Okay, so that was a bit of unexpected thing, but okay.
Video and a lot of great stuff from Gary.
We got to know some great stuff though, I would say that.
I know I'm going to get some knowledge dropped on me here.
That man is a well of knowledge, that is for sure.
Yeah, so as we can tell from that video, what Gary's been saying, it perfectly sets the stage and the context for why this astronaut experience rehearsal matters and how it fits in with the broader scope of this new Shepard launch and campaign.
Agreed, Patrick. Gary in that video really helps us understand the how and the why of what we do here at Blue Origin. And today, we're doing a lot. Okay, so let's get into it and discuss the overview of the astronaut experience once we do start flying people. So here we go. First, the astronauts will arrive 3 days before flight. They will be met by our astronaut experience team who will take them out to their accommodations at Launch Site 1, and that's where they will meet crew member 7. Now, you're going to hear us talk a lot about crew member 7 today. They are the astronauts' guide through the entire experience. The next day, the astronauts will begin their training, diving into detailed mission and vehicle overviews, learning the procedures for getting into and out of the capsule, and they'll also be part of a mission simulation where they're going to be strapped into their seats in a replica of the crew capsule, a lot like what you see behind us today. Now, on launch day, they're going to suit up, show some of that, you know, Patrick, that astronaut swagger, and go through final preparations. And last but not least, they're going to caravan out to the tower, climb up the tower, through the hatch, and buckle up. And that's when things get real.
That's right, really real, Ariane, because that's when they're going to be ready to actually take off into space and get that incredible experience. Now, let's talk about today's stand-in experience and today's astronauts who are not exactly going to space, but they're going to be doing everything up to that point, including going all the way into the capsule while the rocket is fueled and testing all of that. And earlier today, as you can see here on the screen, they moved from their astronaut village over to the training center where they're actually at right now and doing their final preparations.
Today is going to be a big day for them, and as we noted at about T-minus 45 minutes, so that's coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes here, they're going to leave the training center and continue the astronaut load process by proceeding out to the pad. So while we stand by for that, why don't we give our viewers a lay of the land? So our field reporter, Caitlin Dietrich, was at Launch Site 1 recently during some of our previous astronaut rehearsals, and she filmed a video to give you an up-close look of Launch Site 1. Let's check it out.
Okay, so although it's a good info, but they are actually pitching in their company a lot, which I personally don't like, but it's okay.
Today, I want to take you on a tour of some of the highlights they'll experience before their mission. You know, you just feel like you should kind of be out here on horseback, but then you turn the corner onto our launch site and see the barn with our feather on it, and there's 2 rockets living in there. Before our astronauts go to space, they'll come visit their vehicle in the barn. This is where our astronauts will arrive during their training to greet their vehicle, get acquainted with the capsule, and learn about the booster. This is also where our mission team mates the crew capsule with the booster. Then, the night before launch, the booster rolls out those doors on the way to the launch pad. All right, so right now we're driving the road to space, which is the road the astronauts will take to go to the tower, climb up, and get in the capsule. And when our astronauts arrive here, they'll walk up these stairs, and they're only a few steps away from their trip to space. Once you get to the top of the tower, you see your rocket and your capsule. And this is going to be one of those moments that you remember for the rest of your life.
All stations, this is the flight director on channel 1.
Tell us what you do on launch days for our astronauts.
We go straight into installing the thermal conditioning system in the cabin. Crew member 7 will buckle the astronauts into their seats.
Engineering's go.
At that point in time, we will close the hatch and the bridge will retract a little bit and they'll be ready for flight.
And liftoff.
This place is the start of something really special, and you can't help but feel that way when you're down at Launch Site 1.
Very cool. Patrick, we've been down there a couple of times. It is a spectacular place from which to begin and end your journey to space.
That's right.
Now, the anticipation is really building here at Blue Origin. After 15 consecutive successful missions, including our capsule pad escape test, we are well on our way to flying astronauts. And talking about astronauts, we're moments away from seeing our stand-in astronauts begin traveling to the pad. That should happen in about a minute or so. But in the meantime, let's discuss what we're about to see today and what they're going to do. So we've got a site map here for a little bit of context. So on the left side, on the west side of UC Texas Route 54 is our astronaut village. That's where the astronauts are going to stay. It's their base camp. On the right side of the screen, or the east side of Highway 54, is our launch complex, which includes our astronaut training center. So coming up in a couple of seconds here, the astronauts will leave the astronaut training center with crew member 7. They will shuttle just a few miles north to the tower. You can also see it there on your map. And that's where the rocket will be readying for launch. At T-minus 35, once on the launch pad, our astronauts and crew member 7 are going to climb the tower. This operation will take about 2 minutes. It is a relatively tall tower out there. And they're going to be accompanied by a photographer who's there to document the entire astronauts' pre-flight experience. And we also have a couple of tower cameras. So we will be giving you all a couple of different views and perspectives on the operation today. All right, we're at T-minus 45, Patrick. And I understand that we have gone into a brief hold here. So while we have a hold, why don't we check out New Shepard on the pad as the rocket, which, as we mentioned, we're going through this astronaut experience crew rehearsal today. The rocket itself is also going to be going to space, not with any astronauts on board, but we are preparing for a launch. So why don't we check out New Shepard here?
So yep, guys, here we have the rocket, which we can see here. This is the booster stage here and the capsule. So the tower is pretty long, as you can see here. Although I can't see any lift up here, so maybe the astronauts have to climb up with the stairs, I think, but whatever. So this is the second time they are using this booster. This booster actually flew for the NS-14 mission also, and now today is the NS-15 mission they have. So that's why we can see a bit of wear and tear on this booster, but it's okay. That's just the paint. And talking about the hold, do we have any update on it? Let me just check it. But we can see that there is an hold out there, but we don't know what has caused the hold. So during the pre-flight checks for this rocket, we could see the engine gimbaling as well as the aft fins also gimbaling. So that's a pretty good thing, which we'll be seeing here. But do we have any other thing? Any other update? Does not seem to have it. Nope. Nothing about the update, but we do have the rocket views, which we can see here. And although we this is a pretty, I must say that from all the information which they have given right now, and all the checks and the validations they have gone through, this is a pretty safe rocket, I must say.
Until launch, this will be New Shepard's 15th launch to space and back. We're at T-minus 45 minutes. We are in a brief hold, and again, what we're waiting for at the moment is for the crew, the stand-in astronauts. They are Blue Origin employees today that are going through the entire crew experience rehearsal. So this is all of the actions that are happening up until they get into the capsule. They're going to be doing a couple of comms checks, and then we are going to egress the stand-in astronauts, bring them back down the tower, and then we will be having a launch of New Shepard again, 15th mission for New Shepard. So while we're in a hold, why don't we go back and check out New Shepard as we wait for our stand-in astronauts to leave their astronaut training center.
Okay, so yeah, here we have it. So as I was saying, this is a pretty well designed rocket for taking in consideration the safety of humans. They have these retro rockets also on the capsule. They have the Caesar mechanisms on the seats, which I like, but the thing is which I am like a bit of concerned about, I don't say much of concern, but the fuel which they have chosen, that is the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, which makes it way too expensive. I know maybe they have chosen a fuel which is not very much expensive. Kerolox may be the way, but they have chosen it, which makes it a bit expensive. Maybe they have actually done it because they have to manufacture New Glenn also, so maybe they are like studying how to handle these fuels, so that could be the reason. Otherwise it is good. Although the fact which I don't like was they are actually highly pitching their company. The Blue Origin company did this, did that, but yeah, I don't like that. I don't like the commercials,
Thank you,
to be
again,
honest. So yeah,
joining us for New Shepard's 15th flight to space, as well as a very exciting day for us at Blue Origin. We are doing a crew experience rehearsal. You see here on your screen, the stand-in astronauts have left the astronaut training center, and they are making their way out to the crew tower. Patrick, how exciting is that? I mean,
I know.
okay, so here we see the difference. Maybe that would be different during the actual human space flight, but we can see only one car going to the pad. But with the Crew Dragon, we can see all the security and everything. Also, the trail of cars are also there. So yeah, I don't think so that would happen at the launch day when they will fly actual humans, but we don't know. What we are actually seeing here is only one car.
There's a lot of complexity there in that delicate ballet.
Absolutely. So here you see the stand-in astronauts. They're in that black vehicle there. They are just driving in front of what you see our mission control facility. And coming on the right side of your screen here, that is the barn that we talk about with that big, beautiful feather on the side of it. The astronauts there stopping to wave to the team at mission control. They're in that vehicle, Patrick, with our crew member 7, a photography team, and today there will be 4 astronauts. You see there we have 2 crew member 7s, one Kevin Sprague, and the one there in the blue suit, that is Sarah Knight. One is always with the team, and the other is Capcom. So Sarah, as you saw there, she's going to be our Capcom for the day. She will be in the ear of our astronauts throughout their entire journey.
Yeah, that's right, Ariane. And there we see the team here. They just sort of circled that bend going past the barn, and now they're on their way over to the launch pad. This is what we call the road to space. It's this beautiful long straight road, about 2 miles, and in the backdrop there you would have New Shepard. I wonder, Ariane, if you were in that car right now, and let's say going up into space and seeing that rocket getting bigger and bigger, how would you be feeling?
I mean, I've said it many times. I wanted to go to space since I was a little girl, and I imagine that our future customers, astronaut customers, will also have had that feeling. And so you're in that car, and it's you and your crewmates and the rocket, and that's it in this big, vast Texas desert, and you are on your way towards fulfilling this childhood dream. I mean, I tried to throw some words out there, but really there are no words. I actually think that there's going to be so much adrenaline pumping through it. You're going to be experiencing more than, actively engaging in the moment.
You're absolutely right. And for me, I think I would also have just a bit of a, sereneness and sense of calm as you see this just landscape go by and seeing this rocket get bigger, and you're like, wow, this is happening.
Yeah, this is happening.
Okay.
There they are zipping by. It is about they're away from one of our crew members. They're getting psyched as they should. Now,
guys, thank you so much for your wishes, well wishes. I hope this throat infection goes away. But here we are. We can see the car cruising to the launch pad.
They're actually going to go to the north side of what we call the ring road that goes around the pad, and they're going to stop for a team photo. That should be pretty fun.
And they have arrived now.
And as they're doing that, Patrick, maybe we should get into finish up on the timeline that we were describing earlier of what's going to be happening here. So they've left the astronaut training center. They've driven out to the pad here. They're going to take their photo. After the photo, they're going to continue around to the base of the tower, climb those stairs, the set of stairs at the base of the tower, and they're going to go into that white shelter that you see at the top of your capsule. So at about T-minus 33, with assistance from the tower operations team and crew member 7, they'll load into the capsule, get into their seats, and buckle into their harnesses. So our stand-in astronauts are going to be sitting on a fully fueled rocket today. This is, Patrick,
wow.
This is as real as it can get without igniting the ignition and sending them on a trip to space today.
This is a
Again, the
safety
rocket
concern,
will be
though.
doing that today, just not with the astronauts.
Yeah.
There they go.
It's a
Looking
cool
good.
picture
That's
right
a pretty
there.
cool picture right there. I feel like that's one of those photos that in your Zoom meeting background you'd have pretty prominently there. Just, just a little humble brag.
So, Labret, the cost of their ticket is around 200K to 250K per ticket. So, yeah, and this is the thing. I thought the rocket must have not been fueled right now, but as they say, the rocket is fully fueled, and they will be doing the rehearsals on that. So, okay.
And they're going to continue their drive around towards the base of the tower there. Let's watch.
Although the launch facility is looking very much isolated, as in there are not many structures around the launch facility, which we actually see for other launch complexes. Exactly. So you can see it's a very basic launch facility. Now the crew members are coming in. They will hopefully be climbing the stairs and then reaching inside the capsule, doing some comm checks, some testing of the instruments and all. But that was a bit weird, I know.
Thank you again, everybody, for
that
joining us
photo
live for New
taking,
Shepard's 15th flight to
okay.
space. We are T-minus 37 minutes and 40 seconds to go until launch of New Shepard. We're in the middle of our astronaut rehearsal. Again, we're taking our stand-in astronauts, 4 Blue Origin employees, through our entire astronaut experience, and they will experience everything today that our astronaut customers will, minus the flight to space. The point today, of course, to weave in the astronaut operations on top of normal launch operations, which is critical to overall safe operations once we get into having customers on board today.
Absolutely.
Now, Patrick, why don't we pick it up? We talked about the timeline. They are just they are ascending the stairs as we called out earlier. What happens next?
Yeah, so once they go up and they get out of that white shelter there that we see, they're going to cross the gantry and actually get into the capsule. 2 of them are going to do that. And once they're actually settled in there, they're going to get strapped in. Crew member 7 is going to help them in. They're actually going to do a communications test with our Capcom or capsule communications. They're going to check to make sure we hear each other okay. And then we're going to do a simulated hatch closing. We're going to close the hatch, not latch it. Then we're going to, after a few moments, we're going to reopen the hatch, and then our astronauts are going to exit the capsule or egress, and then we're going to go back to a normal launch profile, so to speak, and they need to prep New Shepard for launch.
And Patrick, today, so while we have 4 stand-in astronauts going through this rehearsal today, only 2 of them are going to be getting into the capsule. Do you want to explain to us why that is?
Absolutely. So, as you know, we have 6 seats in our New Shepard, the crew capsule, so we can take 6 astronauts up into space. Now, today, we have the esteemed Mannequin Skywalker taking yet again another flight up into space. And the next 3 seats next to him are actually filled with boxes full of postcards from Club for the Future to take up into space and bring on those back. And so with all those seats, essentially, we only have 2 seats open, so that's why we're only going to have 2 of those astronauts actually go into the capsule.
Very exciting moment here. Now the astronauts have entered, the stand-in astronauts have entered into the safety shelter there. You see Kevin Sprogge, our crew member 7 on the right. We're going to get to know Kevin Sprogge and Sarah Knights, our first Blue Origin crew member 7s, in just a bit here.
Although they are having some issues with the frame rate.
You might recognize Gary Lai on the left from earlier in our video today.
Absolutely. And Ariane, so these, our 4 stand-ins right now are in what we call our safety shelter. And, this room is a climate-controlled room where astronauts can do their final preparations like you see right now, get their briefing from Kevin. And this also serves as a safety stop in case, there's any issue on the pad. The astronauts and the team can safely stay in this shelter until situation is resolved. Of course, if our stand-ins or astronauts are in the capsule itself, they can, quickly egress, make it across the gantry, and get into that shelter, and where they can wait out any issues at all. So, that room is quite multi-purpose there, as you can tell.
Right. Well, let's continue to watch here the operations inside the safety shelter.
So headphones are on.
Looks like they are leaving the shelter.
I don't think so. Those are
So what you're going to see
though.
here is about an 8-minute long process of actually loading the 2 astronauts there into the capsule. And at the end of which, like we said, we're going to simulate the hatch closing with the 2 stand-ins inside. Ariane, do you want to tell us about the 2 folks that are actually going to be going in here to this capsule today?
Sure. So in the foreground, you just saw our photographer, Joel Eby, who is preceding them. Got to catch some sweet photos, of course, of our astronauts as they head out there.
What are they
so
doing?
Here we have Susan Knapp, Gary Lai,
Everyone is jumping.
Audrey Powers.
Is
And
this
in the
a
back
tradition
there,
or
we've got
what?
Clay Morey.
Everyone
and
is
Kevin
just
Sprogge,
touching
our
that
crew member
bar.
7.
So finally we are here, hopefully to see the interior of the capsule also.
The 4 astronauts plus the photographer and our crew member 7 have made their way obviously closer to the rocket. As you mentioned, only 2 of the stand-in astronauts are going to go into the capsule today. We've got, again, Mannequin Skywalker. You can see him.
Right
He's
there.
already locked and loaded, ready for his flight to space. And 3 payload lockers that will be taking
Labrat.
postcards from Club
Could be a
for the
good
Future
luck
up.
thing.
But we are soon to see Gary Lai. You heard from Gary a little bit earlier in our broadcast. He's been here over 17 years, and we call him the architect of New Shepard. So it's quite moving for all of us here at Team Blue to watch him ascend the tower and get inside of the capsule that he designed. Audrey, who you just saw step into the
Let's
capsule
hope
there,
we have the
she is one of
cameras
the leaders
inside.
of our legal team and is a big part of all of the operations that we conduct here at Blue. But, you know, in particular, Patrick, we talk a lot about the engineering that goes into the design and the manufacturing and the operations, et cetera. But there's an important legal component that goes into it too. In particular, there's a lot of interaction that we've had over years with the FAA, and so our point of contact is Audrey Powers. So to add to her, you know, rock star resume, she's also a pilot, no big deal, and the first female chair of the Commercial Spaceflight Federation. So really, really neat. She's had some incredible impact on space legislation and policy in some major ways, you know, for the whole entire commercial space industry. I do
As
wanna do a
expected, I
special
don't
little
think
shout
so.
out to
We
her.
will be having some interior views,
Genesee is a big
but
fan of
we
the
would
work and
have
for
loved
the
to have
cameras.
those views from
Genesee,
inside.
good morning. And another shout out to Gary's kids, Anna and Alec. They are all potential future astronauts with us. So hopefully taking the footsteps behind their older family members. So why don't we continue to take a look here for our astronaut experience rehearsal. It is continuing. We have the stand-in astronauts in the capsule.
I would have loved to see the views from the inside, but they should have done that. I was really expecting to have at least some view of the inside, not in during the flight, but at this time. But I don't think so. We are having. So yeah, we have to be satisfied from these views only. So right now what the astronauts are doing is buckling themselves up right now and doing some communications check, also some pre-flight checks which are required just in case to buckle themselves up as well as be in flight position, and then the hatch will be closed. They will do some more communications check, and then finally the hatch will be opened. The crew will be egressed, and then yeah, they will return from the launch pad to the mission control, if I'm not wrong, or whatever place they have to go, and then the launch will happen. So yeah, here's the thing. So let's see what we get. Although that touching of the bar was a bit weird, but could be a fun thing to have in those stressful situations. So maybe they have started this tradition also. We don't know. You know, people can
Thank you again, everybody, for joining
do
us
that
today.
before
We're at
boarding the
T-minus 29
capsule.
minutes to go until launch. A very exciting day for us here at Blue Origin. This is New Shepard's 15th flight to space and our first astronaut experience dress rehearsal combined with a launch. We should note again, no astronauts will be going to space today, but this is really a critical step in our march towards first human flight. Now, our stand-in astronauts, Blue Origin employees Gary Powers and Gary Lai and Audrey Powers are in the capsule, and it looks like the simulated hatch closing is about to get underway. Let's keep an eye on our screen for that.
Sounds good. And Ariane, I think right now what they're doing is the actual communications check. So they're talking with mission control and the other astronauts in the safety shelter using their push to talk. They're just confirming all of these checks. And as you pointed out, after we complete those checks, that's when we're going to close the hatch, but not latch it, because we are going to have to take those Gary and Audrey out as much as we want to stay in there.
Yeah. I'm sure they might be trying to hide under the seat, but not today. Not today, Gary and Audrey. Soon, though.
Soon. Mannequin's keeping an eye on them.
Yeah, Mannequin's got a good eye on him. This is his flight again today. So again, in the capsule, we have Audrey Powers and Gary Lai, as well as our crew member 7, Kevin Sprague. Our other crew member 7 is Sarah Knight. She is on Capcom, so she's on the other end of these communications tests that we're doing with our astronauts today.
So, yeah, can't wait to see Vyomnauts like this, J. Jewel Kelvin. Um, uh, yeah, I also can't wait to see them, but the problem would be the camera angles and the camera quality. I'm really expecting during the flight of the Gaganyaan for ISRO, they figure it out, and we do have some good camera shots and those things. So that would be a treat to watch. Let's hope that happens. And it's not very far away too. First uncrewed flight is happening, so right now they will be, so the thing which they are right now doing is preparing
Thank you
to
again,
close
everybody,
the
for
hatch.
joining us live. We're at T-minus 25 minutes to go until launch. Our crew experience rehearsal is well underway, seems to be going well so far. While we have a moment here, let's talk about the flight profile of the rocket. Once we finish the crew experience rehearsal, we will extract the stand-in astronauts. They will get back in their car and they will drive back to mission control for New Shepard to enjoy the rest of her day, which includes a flight to space, which will go as such. The rocket will lift off, the propulsion module propelling the crew capsule up towards space. At 75 kilometers, or about 250,000 feet, the two vehicles will separate and continue their ascent to their respective apogees. The booster will, once it's hit its apogee, which is over the Kármán line, over the internationally recognized line of space of 100 kilometers, it will come back down and land on our landing pad just 2 miles north of the launch pad. The capsule, in parallel, will continue its flight up to its own apogee, which we're aiming for about 105 kilometers. If we had astronauts on board, they would get their 3 minutes of weightlessness, gazing out of the beautiful windows. You know, as we said, 6 seats, 6 windows. Over a third of the capsule is windows. So when, you know, Patrick, when we get the opportunity to fly up there, it's going to feel like we are floating in space with all that window.
It's going to be incredible.
It's going to be incredible, absolutely. And after the 3 minutes, buckle back in, and the capsule descends, comes down under 3 big parachutes, and just in the last moments, we have the retro thrust system that fires and creates basically an air cushion for a nice soft landing back into our valley here, back in the desert.
And
So we're
we
at
can
T-minus
see right
20
now
minutes, and
they are in hold, as well as they are right now closing the hatch.
I understand we'll be emerging from the hold here shortly, while the team is continuing to do its various checks, communications checks. They have to check all the systems that are in there. Again, this is the first time that we've had stand-in astronauts, people on top of this fully fueled rocket. And again, we will not be flying them to space, but we're doing just about everything but today. We did see Joel Eby, our photographer, go into the capsule to get some last-minute photos of Gary Lai and Audrey Powers. There are stand-in astronauts.
As we can see, Yeah, we did the simulated hatch closing, so we got that check out of the way, and now the hatch is back open, and we've entered that planned hold that should last a couple of minutes here. And this pre-planned hold is part of the rehearsal operations designed to make sure we can get our astronauts out of the capsule. Again, we call that egress, and then headed back to the safety shelter, and then eventually back into their cars and mission control. Of course, we're doing this time because we're taking the astronauts out. On launch day, this hold would not happen because, of course, our astronauts would be going to space, right?
That is right. So we just saw Gary and Audrey leave the capsule there. Our crew on the tower is just going to do some last checks before they close the hatch for real.
Make sure nobody's stowing away.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure there are no stowaways. There's Audrey and Gary.
And that's
and our
Joel right
photographer.
there.
Re-entering the safety shelter there, where they met up with the other two stand-in astronauts, Clay Morey and Susan Knapp. Obviously having a good time. Getting so close to flying people here at Blue Origin. Again, this is a very, very important step on our march to first human flight. You can almost taste it, Patrick.
Sounds like they're recapping their great experience there and what they got to do in the capsule and all those tests. Man, it must have been so exciting.
And again, can you imagine Gary Lai, the gentleman in the bottom right corner of your screen? He's been at Blue Origin since the very beginning. He knows this system inside and out, and that's why it's really touching for him to participate in this activity, right? He's been really committed through this entire program to getting this vehicle up, flying, landing,
Yep.
And soon taking people to space and back.
So we just saw the astronauts just egressing from the capsule, and right now they will be doing in the hatch closing again, of obviously making it available for the flight. So right now we are in a built-in hold, as they say, in which they will be taking out the astronauts and then closing the hatch, and then this rocket will fly. And mind you, this rocket has been fully fueled with since all these activities has been taken place. So this is the thing in SpaceX Falcon 9. The fueling happens after the astronauts are fully tucked in, and then all the staff leaves the launch pad. But here we just heard that before even the astronauts arrived, the rocket was fully fueled.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th mission to space. We are at T-minus 24 minutes and 51 seconds. We are in a brief hold here, but so far we have had what appears to be a successful astronaut rehearsal. Let's stand by.
So we have now seen the hatch being closed. Hopefully we can see it land also properly. If you have witnessed the NS-14 mission, you would have seen that the landing was a bit
Again,
rough
thank you everybody for
at
joining
that
us
time.
live for
During
New
the
Shepard.
NS-14 mission, the booster landing, it was not aiming for the landing pad, but it did a last-minute correction with the engines, and then it was a bit off the means the landing pad, so it did a last-minute correction and then it landed. So let's hope that does not happen today, and they have a good landing today, because that's a main thing which we all want to see. So yeah. Would you not worry about the bugs flying in and out of the capsule? Hope a swarm of bees don't fly in. That is a bit of concern, lab rat. I mean, and we can't even stop them, and from the in the way they are actually from the launch pad and the launch location they are launching it, there is a probability of that coming in also during those days in which the swarm of bees and bugs comes alive. But the thing is, they must have thought about it maybe, and must have I don't know what are the procedures to counter that, but let's see when that thing arrive. But yeah, that is a valid possibility. Flash Gordon's rocket ships, so it looks like a yeah, we know. See, the thing with the shape of this rocket is that whatever it looks like, but it has been very much planned. The wedge fins, the space between the rocket, I mean, there is a bit of a space in which the air is allowed to flow, and all those design consideration has been taken care of in accordance to the safety and stability. So yeah, because of that, this is how it looks like, just because of that space which they have to leave. I mean, yeah. Okay, microphone. Yeah, it also looks like a microphone. It does look like a microphone. So we are right. Okay, so the hold has been taken care of now. We are not in a hold, so let me just update the timer here.
Again, thank you everybody for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We have so far had a successful astronaut experience rehearsal. We just saw the tower crew closing the hatch for real. We had earlier our astronauts in there, stand-in astronauts, did some tests, and now we are continuing our countdown to the launch itself. Now, Patrick, we've talked a lot about crew member 7 and how important they are to our astronauts and their full experience, right? We saw Kevin Sprague on the tower with our team. We had Sarah Knights, who was on Capcom. We saw them waving to our astronauts at the last moment there as they headed out towards the rocket. But why don't we take a little closer look at their roles and specifically meet Kevin and Sarah? Let's check it out.
Yes, Jacob, they will be flying one mannequin Skywalker, which will test the G-forces, the acoustics, and all those things. It's an interesting figuring, you can say. But in contrast, for the ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, is also planning for the human space flight, okay? And in that, they have Vyomitra, which is not a mannequin or something like that, but it's a humanoid robot in which they will be sending, and that will, you can say, will test the functionality, and it is movable. Actually, that is a robot, so it is a movable robot in which it can click the buttons and press the buttons and test the facilities, and you can install the sensors and all those things. And right now it is you can say made in accordance to that, but in further flights it will be, you can say, used as a companion to the astronauts. you can say a companion humanoid robot companion to the astronauts when they are going into the space. So that's one unique thing which ISRO is considering, and we'll be seeing that actually happening. So yeah.
They're going to live with you at the astronaut village. They're going to conduct all of your astronaut training.
Spaceflight is complicated, but our astronauts that fly with us will not need to have a complicated view of what's happening. The rocket is autonomous, and all of the safety systems are hardwired into the core.
On launch day, crew member 7 is actually going to walk you up the tower, put you in your seat in the capsule, close the hatch.
Capsule Capcom.
The Capcom will then take over as the astronauts take their journey to space. And then as soon as they land, crew member 7 will be there to help open the hatch and whisk them away to the celebrations. Our astronauts are one part of a very historic journey.
We're trying to build the infrastructure to get millions of people living and working in space.
So the people who come here will truly be helping us take that first step.
Clearly, Patrick, these astronauts are in very capable hands with Kevin and Sarah. Not just capable, but they are experienced and extraordinarily passionate about space and everything that we do at Blue Origin.
Absolutely.
Now, this is, I don't know about you, but this is quite surreal to watch. Again, we are getting very close to sending people up to space and back. And I hope that there are students around the world that get to see events like this and are inspired to pursue careers in space. Patrick, I know you and I, it was more shuttle era, watching the shuttle go up, and I hope that we're a key part of inspiring the next generation. And everybody at Blue is, so much so that we founded Club for the Future. This is our nonprofit that has been hard at work since 2019. And as you know, we launch postcards from around the globe in New Shepard, including today. And it's all about inspiring youth and opening up access to space for everybody. Now, the club has worked with some of the most recognized names in STEM education, including Microsoft Education and the Challenger Center. So why don't we take a closer look at these partnerships and all things Club for the Future.
At Club for the Future, we get to inspire youth to really give them that connection and love for space. Club for the Future has a superpower where we get to literally tap into rocket scientists, aerospace architects, and people who are not only just dreaming the future, but they're out there building it. So our very first mission is send a postcard to space. All 7 continents and well over 100 countries have participated. And so that little moment where they realize this postcard has taken that journey that they're going to have the opportunity to take also one day, it clicks, and they're hooked. Club's been fortunate over this past year to have some really amazing partnerships. One is Project Janos.
Students need to have their curiosity sparked so they can fall in love with human spaceflight and why it's not in the future, it's today. Let's look at the past, the present, and the future. So for the past, it's the Apollo legends. For the present, we're looking at Artemis. And then for the future, the vision that Blue has set for human spaceflight. And that's why Club for the Future and Project Janos has real potential to have a positive impact on the world.
Another one is Microsoft Education Day of Data.
We are preparing these students for these future careers, fundamental skills like creative thinking, problem solving, computational thinking, and data literacy. It's been a fantastic partnership. Who doesn't want to be part of the rocket launch?
Club for the Future partnered with STEM to Hub. Together, we challenged the entire state of Florida to dream big.
It was like giving them the gift of the future.
Club for the Future is proud to be supporting Challenger Center. They've not only implementing the Postcard to Space programs, but Club for the Future most recently has been helping build a virtual mission called Destination Moon, where they put kids right in the seat of mission control, taking the New Glenn to the moon.
The teachers have told us that they're loving it, the students are loving it. They're going to be the ones exploring Mars and Moon. They're going to be the ones launching New Glenn.
Thanks for being members of the Club for the Future.
I can just think of one word, hope. I see this entire generation that's going to be part of something far, far bigger than I am.
See, this is the thing which I really love about Blue Origin. They are inspiring the young minds also, and they are not just leaving that section of society. So yeah, so if you also want some part of thing which it has gone to space and then come back, and that to free of cost, you can send it over to the Blue Origin for the Club of Future, and they'll take care of it, they'll launch it, and then they'll send it back to you. So yeah, you can send it over to them.
I do want to highlight that there's a club member that we know and love that has been a great part of helping their local community, especially as part of that recent unfortunate Texas winter storm. We caught up with him to hear about how he's been helping his community, as well to talk a little bit about what it's like being an ambassador for Club for the Future. So let's go hear it from Beckett Potter's own words.
Let's check it out.
To say, if you ever need a junior correspondent for New Shepard, I'm your kid. Go Team Blue. RocketGyan Ferocious.
Wow. This is so cool.
Oh my God, what an adorable and inspiring kid.
Beckett, you should just take my seat, although I'm sure the Ellen Show has already called him. We've lost our moment. All right, well, so as we're talking about Club for the Future, I do want to talk about another initiative from the club, which involves our buddy Mannequin Skywalker, who's on board today. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that, Patrick?
Absolutely. I love talking about Mannequin the next adventure. So Blue Origin is going to be donating Mannequin Skywalker to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, which is home, of course, to one of our key partners, Space Camp. So we're also going to be donating one of the New Shepard seats. And so with Mannequin and the seat, I think we can tell a great story about sort of that path to flight and really tell students how, Mannequin essentially helped the New Shepard program and human spaceflight. So I think that could be a great way to, actually see it there.
Absolutely agree.
And if we go to a little bit more detail sort of on that story, one of the cool things about these mannequins is that in many ways they're similar to the kind used by first responders in rescue training. So there we see Mannequin, actually in New Shepard capsule, in space. Gosh, I'm sure he wants to be floating around up there. And so
he's taking in the zen of space,
there you
Patrick.
go.
That's what he's doing.
You and I would not be zen up
there.
But these mannequins mimic the weight, form, and center of gravity and the range of motion of the human body. So it allows us to actually test the weight and CG and balance in the capsule, just like we would be if we were flying real people. And so that mannequin that's going to be flying today is actually the same one that flew on the last mission with those Space Camp astronaut wings pinged to the flight suits. It's going to be really cool to see all of that kind of make its way back home.
Very cool indeed. I can't wait to see Mannequin at the Space and Rocket Center in Alabama soon. Again, as you've mentioned, they've been wonderful partners with our Club for the Future. Okay, we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until New Shepard's
and we have a hold.
15th launch to space,
Okay.
although I do notice here that we have gone into a brief hold. So why don't we check out New Shepard on the pad as she gets ready for her flight.
So again, there is a hold. Don't know yet. Could be the astronauts have not reached the designated area which they were supposed to reach, but could be technical also, don't know. Jacob says, man, I would love to see access Shit-12 and that small child duke it out. That would be so cool. I mean, Blue Origin, whatever people say, but it is doing at least one good thing, that is inspiring young minds. And mostly people in this space sector and you can say the rocket sector, they tend to ignore the young minds, the children of the society, because obviously this is a very, very, very hard thing to be explained to a child, but you can at least inspire them. And they have formed this Club for the Future in which they are aiming to do that, which I really like. And it's not even not only closed out to kids only. That is not the case.
Thank you again, everybody, for
anybody
joining
can
us
send the
live for New
postcards.
Shepard's 15th launch to space. We're at T-minus 45 seconds to go until launch. Another countdown to another what should be exciting launch. We are in a hold at the moment, but while we've got a little bit of time left, we did want to bring you up to speed on some progress with our New Glenn vehicle development down in Florida.
Please
New Glenn,
give us the
of course,
updates.
is our orbital rocket, the successor to New Shepard, our suborbital rocket. We're investing in building a state-of-the-art facility down in the Cape. It is beautiful. You were just down there last week, right? And we're testing flight operations with a giant Stage 1 simulator producing flight hardware and growing the integration and test facilities down there on our campus. Now, why don't we check out the recent progress for our New Glenn rocket factory at Cape Canaveral with, once again, Caitlin Dietrich.
Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin Dietrich reporting here from Florida Space Coast in front of New Glenn's rocket factory and growing campus. Let's go. Scott, thank you for having us today. Tell us a little bit about the New Glenn rocket factory.
The campus here in Florida is about 1 million square feet. We currently have over 550 people on site, and we've been growing significantly. We've just entered the high bay, the centerpiece of the factory. Raw stock aluminum comes in one end of the factory to our south, and a rocket moves out to the north.
Take a look at this thing. It's so cool to see New Glenn's first stage like this, just mocked up.
With 180 feet, we're going to be towing something that's close to a football field in length, and it's also 23 foot in diameter, which is larger than anything flying today.
You just showed us outside some of the flight-like parts of the first stage, and this is where we're fabricating them right next door, right?
That's right. This is one of our busiest shops right now, and the team can work on both the forward face, and another part of the team can be behind on the back face. Then they'll go out and be assembled to form that forward and aft module of the New Glenn first stage. You know, these mills that we make these parts on, we're doing things on a scale that has not been done before.
It looks like we have a lot of hardware here on the floor.
Yeah, I love this part of the factory. I mean, we're building domes, we're building barrels, and now we're ready to move into the flight hardware production stage.
We're inside the dome.
So imagine we're at the top of the stage 2 tank. Below us is a full first stage and second stage New Glenn rocket, over 200 feet. We're now entering our composites hub. This is where our payload fairing, one of our other big elements of New Glenn, is made. This 7-meter payload fairing offers twice the volume of anything flying today. So when you're a payload customer, when you see this, you think, I can put a huge satellite in there, or I can put a whole bunch of small to medium satellites in there and really take advantage of the capability that New Glenn brings to the mix.
Very exciting, the operations it's been fun to watch it kind of mushroom out of the swampy area down there in in Florida, just to see this entire campus that we have built. Again, we are the first organization that is going to be building the rocket and flying it out of Florida. So that should be coming up in a couple of years here. That's going to be very exciting. Now, as part of that orbital launch site and general facility campus that we're building there, we have something called the TCAT, or the Tank Cleaning and Testing Facility. We use this facility to pressure test and clean New Glenn stages before flight. And this massive building that we're about to show you is being used for the fully reusable first stage, which stands 180 feet tall. To give you some context, that's about 3 times the size of New Shepard just in the first stage. So why don't we take a look at this facility? We're standing in front of the tank cleaning and testing facility for New Glenn on the Rocket Factory campus, about 230 feet tall. We're going to head into the building and get to know this facility and all the capabilities it gives us. So this door right here opens, and essentially the first stage of New Glenn will come in, and this large crane above our head will lift the vehicle up into this fixture right here. This is where the rocket will be when we do the pressure testing. Once the rocket is vertical on this fixture, we use tie downs right here to secure the vehicle. So you can see here we're only on the 3rd floor, and I feel like I've been in this elevator for about 10 years. So we just got into the TCAP at about the same level as the top of New Glenn's first stage. And I just took a quick peek over this railing, and I gotta tell you, this is going to be a massive rocket. So we're climbing just the rest of the stairs to the top of the tower. I feel like I'm standing on New Glenn's first stage. Woohoo! And one thing that's so evident when you're looking down on almost this New Glenn city and our launch site in the port, we really have something unique here. There's no other facility on the Cape where you build the rocket, you fly it, you bring it back, and you fly it again. super
So
exciting.
that's the
super
capability
exciting.
which
We've talked
is
about
good.
a lot on previous webcasts, but I think it's worth bringing up again. There's been so much value already out of this New Shepard program. Well, we haven't flown people yet, although as today is a testament to, we are very close to flying people to space. But taking the lessons from the design of New Shepard, the operations of New Shepard, the human spaceflight operations of New Shepard, as well as the refurbishment of the vehicles themselves, and rolling them into New Glenn has been, it's almost like it catapults you. It's a trampoline to the next level, which is why we've already started New Glenn.
Absolutely, Ariane. I mean, essentially all of the learnings that we've had from this great vehicle have already been applied. You see it sort of in the design, everything from how we lay out the stages, the tank designs, everything from how we manufacture the tanks with friction stir welding. All of these things we've learned on New Shepard, and now we're applying on New Glenn. But to your point, it's at a 3 to 5x scale, right? Which is kind of has its own challenges.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the parallels between the first stage of New Glenn and the booster on New Shepard?
Yeah, no, it's a great analogy there. So you actually see a lot of the similar design there, which is really interesting. So we have the same, essentially the same aerodynamic surfaces there, right? So with the strakes and the fins, we have them on New Shepard on that propulsion module. Same thing on the GS1 on the first stage of New Glenn. They just happen to be much larger. I mean, you and I can probably carry the fin of a New Shepard, whereas the one on the first stage of New Glenn is actually the size of the wing of an F-16.
And to be clear, we call it a fin. We call it, actually internally, we call it a strake. It effectively acts like a wing.
Yeah.
Right? Because at 180 feet long, it's effectively, it's kind of like an airplane, right? And we want to have lift on the vehicle to be able to fly it back and get it back onto our landing ship that will be underway when it comes into land.
Absolutely. So those fins and strakes allow us to get a lot of stability, both essentially directionally, rotationally, and it gives us a lot of the ability to go downrange to land. So a New Shepard allows us to kind of come back and precision land on the pad. Right. With New Glenn, we're going to be landing downrange on a moving ship. So by having all of these aerodynamic structures and having all of that design heritage on how to design them, how to use them in our flight control systems, it allows us to land with a lot of precision downrange without having to use a lot of propulsive maneuvers to essentially use up all that fuel to kind of land. So lots of great learning from there. A lot of our learning around how we actually land. I mean, Gary sort of spoke to it, right? Our ability to kind of throttle down, right, hover, and kind of land and kind of bring it down nice and gentle there is extremely important. We want to be able to land precisely, and all that throttle ability and guidance around landing all developed on New Shepard, so we don't have to learn it again on New Glenn on something much bigger and much more hefty.
Hefty. I don't know if the rocket would like you calling it hefty.
That's right.
Okay, well, we are at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until New Shepard's 15th launch to space and back. As we've mentioned before, hopefully you caught it as well, we had a successful astronaut experience rehearsal test for the pre-flight operations. Following the flight, those same stand-in astronauts will head out to the capsule once it comes back down so we can practice some of those post-flight operations as well. But in the meantime, we are in a brief hold. We just want to make sure that our teams are getting aligned and we're all set for New Shepard's flight to space. So why don't we check out New Shepard while she's on the pad getting ready for her flight to space today.
So I just checked that for any updates or so for the hold. So this is not a built-in hold. This is not a built-in hold, and we do have some problem, I suppose, because the crew have reached the astronaut training center, and I don't think so the hold is because of that. We don't know, and this is a pretty big hold. I mean, T-minus 10:45 was the countdown, and we are already holding in for 11:42. So they are looking in for some potential issues right now, maybe with the rocket. Also, there is no as such launch window for this rocket because this is simply a suborbital will go in only a suborbital trajectory, but then also there is some launch window, because you don't want any as such foreign object or satellite to collide with it. Although the apoapsis is around only 120 kilometers, I don't think so any satellite would like to be there on that orbit, because that's a very highly degrading orbit. So I don't think so any concern with the launch window. We can have the whole day, but we will have to see the issue with the rocket or the weather. Weather also seems pretty good right now. Don't know about the winds, but does not seem to be very cloudy or windy as from the sceneries. But we never know. Although looking, my guess is there is some issue with the rocket. Maybe something has happened because of the astronaut training. Don't know. So Nishant Kumar, the problem with my voice is because I'm right now not well. I was very sick from the couple of days before, but right now I am good, but still some cough buildup is there. So yeah, and it's okay. We will get all right. But I really want to stream this launch, and I have been like away from these launches for a very long time. First because of the exams, and then because of this health issues. But now I have to be on the track back to the business, which I love to do. So yeah, I'm back.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We are T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until launch here. Our team is just getting aligned on some last-minute issues. But while we've got a little bit of time here, I wanted to bring you all up to speed on some recent progress that we've made on the BE-4 engine. We were just talking about New Glenn. You called it hefty. Maybe it's big boned. Again, you know, don't offend the rocket. You're going to want it to work.
It's taken a lot of payload into space. That rocket is doing a great job there.
Absolutely. It's a robust rocket. Now, we have been working on the BE-4 engines that are going to propel that rocket. There are going to be 7 BE-4 engines, Blue Engine 4s, and we've been successfully hot-firing those engines as part of a regimented test program, and we've seen some long-duration, full-power burns on a regular basis from that engine. To date, we've accumulated over 11,000 seconds of test time. In addition, recently we delivered the first Pathfinder engines to our customer United Launch Alliance for their Vulcan Centaur rocket, which should be flying later this year. And I, for one, cannot wait to watch that rocket and those engines blast off from the Space Coast.
Absolutely.
Mock diamonds are certainly a thing of beauty, aren't they?
Yeah, they
Why don't
are.
we check out some of this footage from a recent BE-4 test?
This is what I love to see all day. The BE-4 engine with the stage combustion cycle working in, and those wow.
So there you go, Patrick. You can see the BE-4 engine testing. We actually have 2 test cells down there that are both up and firing, which is great because you can test on one engine, get your learnings, you know, adjust the hardware, and in parallel you can be testing on the next test cell, so you don't have a lot of downtime. So this engine here, this is a 550,000 pound of thrust engine, so that's 5 times the power of the BE-3 engine, the Blue Engine 3, which is powering New Shepard today, and there will be 7 of those. That means 3.85 million pounds of thrust on liftoff when New Glenn blasts off from the Space Coast in a couple of years here. And again, as mentioned, we've had a lot of successful test firings on it, which is great. This is the first of this sort of liquefied natural gas, LNG, and liquid oxygen engine. Think of LNG like a commercial form of methane for those of you at home that are less familiar with rocket propellants. And so far, so good. And that LNG, actually, we should talk about that for a second. We've picked it for a couple of reasons. For one thing, when you have a reusable rocket, you need reusable rocket engines, which means you need to be able to bring the engines home and refurbish them quickly. And when you use that sort of clean propellant, you can get in there. There's not that kind of nasty coking and other sort of nasty things that come with other types of propellant. It's green.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing as well. And the other thing about LNG, for you rocket nerds at home, you probably know this too, is that it allows us to autogenously pressurize the engine. What does that mean? It means that we can use that LNG to pressurize the lines in the rocket engine, as opposed to bringing in what we use on other engines, or what others use on other engines, which is helium, which is good, it works, but the problem is it's quite expensive and sometimes can be in kind of tricky supply. So.
Absolutely, and the great thing about LNG is that it's extremely cheap. It's the same, very similar to the gas you use at home. So very easy to get in and use for this. It keeps the costs low. The other great thing about it is because it's actually much denser than hydrogen, you can make that first stage actually quite nice and compact there. You can pack a lot of propellant into a small volume and be able to get a lot of payload up there into space.
Yeah, so we're very proud of this rocket engine that we've developed so far, and have enjoyed working with our partners at United Launch Alliance, who again will be using that rocket engine. They'll be using 2 of them on their Vulcan Centaur, so that should be really fun to watch. So with that, we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go until New Shepard's launch here this morning. We are in a hold. Our teams are working to make sure that New Shepard can launch today. Also want to make sure that the weather is within bounds. You see it is a bit hazy down there in Texas. We also, of course, as always, watch the winds aloft. We've mentioned this before. You can't really tell down there because of the limited brush, but it can be quite windy, and so it's imperative that our team make sure that everybody, the teams are aligned, but also the weather is within bounds. So why don't we check out New Shepard here?
So I've been checking in for the updates also. Does not seem to have any. Don't know what is actually happening with the rocket. As they say, they are doing some last minute checks, but last minute issues, as they say. I don't think so. That is the thing. And as we heard, the weather does not seem to be a problem. We would like to know what actually is happening with it. And also they were talking about the new Glen B4 engines and all. We'll have to see what it has in store for us. Although when the engine was firing, the marked diamonds were there, but was not so much prominent. And we'll have to see what do we get when this engine actually flies. And this B4 engine will be supplied to ULA also for the Vulcan Centaur, and then this ULA has this smart reusability system in which Vulcan is also reusable, but very partial. I mean, they will only be recovering the they will only be recovering the engines from the Vulcan Centaur. So the Vulcan rocket, what it will do, for the first stage, they will be recovering the engines. For in that, what it will do, it will first of all do its mission, propel the second stage to its designated location, and then it will detach. The engine section will detach from the you can say the fuel tank, and then it will inflate the heat shield, because it will be going at much higher speed than Falcon 9. It won't be performing any entry burn or something like that. So it will be having one inflatable heat shield.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining
which
us
it will
live.
be deploying, and then
for New Shepard's 15th
it will
flight
come.
to space. We are in a hold here, wanting to make sure that our teams get aligned. Again, I'm Ariane Cornell, here with my co-host, Patrick Zaituni. Now, while we've got a little bit of time, why don't we talk about another one of our programs that we have going on at Blue, our human landing system, our Blue Moon program. And it's part of NASA's Human Landing System program. And we have, we've based our activities for HLS, as we call it, down in Huntsville, Alabama, at our factory down there. And we've actually put a full-scale pathfinder of our descent element lander in preparation of our demonstration mission to the lunar surface. This mission is going to happen a year before landing crew on the moon, which, by the way, I love saying those words. And by proving out our technology and pre-positioning equipment down there on the lunar surface, it's going to start America's sustainable return to the moon, and this time to stay. Let's check out this video.
One of the things that our team is doing is a demonstration flight of our descent element 1 year before we actually send crew, humans, down to the surface. And that provides an enormous amount of risk reduction. We get to practice. In Huntsville, we put together a full-scale pathfinder of the DE demo lander. We can test out, prove out the BE-7 engine, all the major subsystems, the whole propulsion system, the fluid system, the electrical power system, the fuel cells, avionics, the sensors, all of that. We can send that lander and land it autonomously on the surface before the crew goes there. We can deliver all kinds of payloads. We can deliver a metric ton of stuff. We can pre-position material, and it can be whatever you want it to be. We can begin to build up Artemis Space Camp. We're looking at several different ways of offloading payloads from the deck. The obvious thing is a crane. And we've actually got a crane provided for us by Langley Research Center at NASA. We're also looking at a Dabbit system that's being developed by Honeybee Robotics. We're not standing still at the national team. We built this full-scale pathfinder of the DE demo mission in Huntsville to enable long-term sustainability, getting America back to the moon, this time to stay.
And thank you so much, Leap, for appreciating my work.
So cool
really appreciate that too.
I mean,
And
Patrick, we talk about this a lot.
yeah.
Step by step, ferociously, gradatum ferociter. That's our motto here at Blue. New Shepard leads into New Glenn, and from once then we're up in orbit. Where do we go from there? Like, hey, why don't we go to the moon, right? It's all part of this longer roadmap that we have here at Blue Origin. But we're not going to do this mission alone, are we? Why don't you talk to us about this? Patrick has been part of this program, the Lunar program, from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's been incredible and so exciting to see it sort of go from, where it was, nascent 2-3 years ago and sort of where we are right now. It's just, the team's done such an incredible job. And so what you were hearing earlier is, Steve Squires, our chief scientist, talking about all the great things we're going to do, with the descent element and the science and all the incredible stuff we can do on the surface by landing these large payloads. That's incredible. And to me, what's even more incredible is when we get to work with Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Draper. It's just a phenomenal team. And
they've got a little bit of experience in this.
Exactly.
Yeah, they've got a couple of years.
They've done this a few times, perhaps, and landed on planets, guided, Apollo, small things, and they've just done an incredible job. They brought their A team on this, and it's incredible to see just the heritage there, the incredible design that's in the ascent element that's actually going to be keeping the astronauts alive, taking them down to the surface and bringing them back up. The transfer element, which actually does a lot of the heavy lifting of the Delta V and gets the whole stack down into the right orbit and gets them down onto the surface, and of course, the lander itself, which is bringing that down to the surface and landing them safely, all guided by the Draper algorithms, proven since Apollo and able to bring this down safely with people on board, which of course always adds even more complexity. We can't wait to actually go land this.
Exactly, and again, you just mentioned the not just the complexity of the system, but then you just mentioned we're taking people to the moon.
Yeah.
Much like today, this is actually what we've done today is a step that contributes towards that, right? With New Shepard, we talked about. Obviously, we're launching and landing this rocket. We've done it several times previously. We've layered on today the astronaut experience operations and rehearsal that we conducted earlier. And eventually we're going to be doing that when we go to the moon, but that's not the only parallel between some of the operations that we're doing today and what we're going to do on the moon.
Yeah,
that descent element looks a lot, that landing looks a lot like a landing we know.
Exactly. I mean, if you can sort of like, shrink a New Shepard a little bit, you can sort of imagine it's so close to a decent element. I mean, there's so many parallels there. And there is, hydrogen and oxygen, right? So the same propellants that we're using here.
That's on our BE-7 engine,
in the
correct?
BE-7 engine, right? Which again builds on a lot of the heritage of the BE-3PM, but it's about 10x smaller thrust. So it's a little bit of a smaller engine, but even higher performing. Again, very, very compact, very excellent engine there, very efficient, high ISP. But again, builds on a lot of the same learnings from the BE-3 engine on New Shepard. And of course, our landing sequence with all of the landing sensors. And the same thing, you were coming in from about 100 kilometers and autonomously landing in, essentially also pretty rugged desert there. And so there's so much parallels there.
And actually, on that note, we have tested some of that lunar landing technology on New Shepard on previous flights, correct?
Exactly. So working with NASA and a lot of their sensors, we were able to get terrain relative navigation sensors, LiDAR sensors for hazard avoidance. All of these great sensors we actually are planning to use on various parts of the landing itself. We get to test them right here in very similar environments of actually coming down and helping us, figure out what works, what doesn't work, and how to, loop it into the guidance system. It's great to be able to do it here. And actually, by the way, get the sensors back, because as soon as it lands, you can just unbolt them, tweak them a little bit, put them back on, try it again next time.
And that, that really, New Shepard has been a test bed for many of our payload customers, but it's also nice to use it for our own technology. And again,
so, Renato, the H actually means hold. So they are actually in hold for around 28 minutes now. And till now, we haven't got any reason from them as to why there has been a hold in the countdown. Which I didn't expect also from Blue Origin, but to be honest, I would have loved to know as in what actually happened.
And valuable not only to Blue Origin, but for many other programs out there.
That's right.
Okay, well, Patrick, we are at
Yes, Labrat, you are actually, that is the truth.
A hold here. Why don't we check out New Shepard as she continues to get ready for her flight to space?
I mean, these presenters have a very difficult job. For all those live presenters, I also understand myself when there are every time when there is some, you can say, diversification from the timeline of events, then that becomes a challenge for the presenter. But yeah, that's where the skill of the presenter comes in. Anyways, 29 minutes in the hold, and we haven't got any update as in what is wrong with the rocket. Although we can't see the venting from the rocket, maybe there is some issue with the fueling. Maybe they have to recycle the fueling or what, because they had some holes when they were egressing and ingressing the astronauts. Maybe that would have affected the fuel boil-off, or don't know. Literally don't know. Okay, so here we can see the venting. So that is, I don't think so that is an issue, but we'll have to see what is actually happening. Is there a problem with the hatch? I mean, is there a problem because they opened the hatch and then they closed it and that created some issue or what? I don't think so. Could be some technical issue with the rocket itself. So, hi Orange Beat, hi Rihan, hi Labrat, hi Randy Marsh. So those of you are just joining in, we have whatever we have witnessed till now is that there were 2 astronauts, 4 stand-in astronauts as they say, but 2 of them got to the launch pad, got in the capsule, and then rehearsed for the final flight of the humans on board, in which they checked the communication. Then they came out of the capsule, then they came out of the capsule, went into the car and then into the training center. But right now everything was progressing smoothly after that. But at T-10 and 45 we had one hold. We don't know the reason yet. No official updates from the presenter as well as anything from the tweets. We are waiting in for what exactly happened, but no official update. And it has been 31 minutes since then. We're just waiting and waiting. So let's hope we at least get some update, as in why is there a hold.
Everybody for joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. There is New Shepard on the pad, ready to rock and roll here. We continue to be in a hold while our teams are getting aligned. But while we've got a little bit of time, we talked quite a bit about the booster earlier. Why don't we talk about the crew capsule? We saw earlier today the crew rehearsal. They rehearsed all of those pre-flight operations, and we had two of our stand-in astronauts go inside of the capsule, do some communications checks with Capcom, etc., tested out some of the systems in there. But why don't we let you guys inside the capsule? Let's check out some of the features. So the capsule, like the one behind us here, has 6 windows, 6 seats. As we mentioned earlier, over a third of the capsule is windows. So as we said before, you know, when you're up there floating in space, there's just so much window, it's going to feel like you are out there in space. The seats that you see there, those are in-house designed and tested. They're based off of a helicopter seat, right? Because helicopter seats, we want the ability through that scissor mechanism that you see there, and also that Gary brought up earlier, to take out any last-minute energy if necessary. You see there in the middle, that's our escape motor as part of our safety system to be used if anything wrong is detected with the booster. You also see the white padding on the walls. That's to absorb extra noise, so you get as clean and beautiful and get to experience as much of the silence of space as possible. So this capsule, when we're flying people shortly, I mean, it's as beautiful on the inside as what you're going to see on the outside. But I should note that when we designed the interior of the capsule, we did so to celebrate, if you will, the engineering that went into there. So you see there's not too many bells and whistles on it. It's really quite simple, so that the astronauts, when they're up in space, they can experience space, because that's what it's all about, right? All right, so we're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go. We've introduced you to the capsule. New Shepard is on the pad, continuing to get ready for her launch today. So why don't we check her out?
So right now the presenters are given instructions to present all those elements of their company, their rocket and all. So we are actually getting some information also about their rocket program, but there we saw the interior of the capsule. It is a bit luxurious, and why not? You are paying 200k to 250k for flying into space. There will be around 2 to 3 minutes of zero gravity in which you will experience, but I mean, in 2 to 3 minutes they will have to open their seat belts, which they will be obviously be using. They'll have to float around, experience the space, and then they'll have to come back and then buckle up. I mean, how will they be doing all those things? I don't know, but yeah, since they are doing it, also if any because of any issue there is an in-flight abort system triggered, the ride will not be very comfortable because the in-flight abort system fires up the abort motor, which is a solid rocket motor, which produces a way amount of thrust during its fire, and the capsule also does not have any wings or something like that for stability. So the capsule just rolls, rock and roll, and the passenger inside, I don't know how have they managed that situation, although they have that scissor mechanism to absorb any excess force. but we'll have to see how that happens, if there is a need. So the leap said there may be having some software bugs. I don't think so. Software issues are not detected as of during the last moments, because they have already gone through tons of simulations for software. I see the thing is with the softwares, they have these lines of codes, and for those verification and then checks and validations, all those things require I mean a bookload of commands and all those things. So the software is actually very well tested, because you don't actually require flight hardware. I mean the flight situation. You can always simulate the flight situations, and those software can guide you through that. So right now could be an issue with the technical point of view, which means the hardware, maybe the engine, maybe the fuel, maybe the fins, don't know yet. Blue screen on computers. See, the reboot of computer is always an option. When you reboot a computer, it resets many of the mechanisms in which and that's why you can get some opportunity to reset everything and start afresh. So whenever some problem happens during the flight or the space hardware, they often go to rebooting the computer, because that solves almost every other issue. But that requires some time also. So yeah, maybe loading issues could be. We seriously, we don't know. It's it's H plus 38 minutes. We haven't got any update from, as in why there has been a hold. 200k for 2 to 3 minutes for 0Z. At least they must have had 2 or 3 orbits of Earth. I mean, if you want some more time, you can go in for Spaceship 2, Virgin Galactic.
15th flight to space. We're at T-minus 10 minutes and 45 seconds to go. We continue to be in a hold here. While we're just going to continue to watch New Shepard as she gets ready for flight today. We're just aligning our teams and making sure that weather is in bounds.
Okay, so is there a weather issue? Because they said that they are making sure the weather is in bounds. So it doesn't seem to have a very cloudy or hazy weather, but winds could be a problem. We can't always see the winds coming in, obviously, and this is a very, very open area, so could be an issue. As they're saying, that must be an issue only, so we will have to see that. No weather issue. Did I hear something else or what? What did she say? So Theresa asked if can fire be simulated? You can't simulate the exact situation of when fire happens, but yes, there are simulations for fire also. I mean, you can have those effects, but fire is one of those things which is highly unpredictable. You can actually predict some part of it, but you don't know from where to where it can spread. So okay, finally we have come out of the hold. We are T-minus 10 minutes 38 seconds.
This is the flight director on Channel 1 and UHF voice for the go poll for terminal count and launch. Capsule. Go. Booster. Go. Ground. Go. Safety. Rangers green. Go. Engineering. Go. Capcom. This is the flight director. New Shepard is go for launch. Booster, commence the terminal count.
We'll go flight, and we still have step 104.
All right, everybody, we are go for launch. As we heard, we are at T-minus 10 minutes to go. The countdown clock has resumed. Phew. Let's do it, Patrick.
I know.
That was, we are always looking forward to a launch, and certainly after today, it's just so important that we make sure that we walk through all the checklists, make sure that everything is right within bounds. And if we need to take a couple more minutes, you know, even 40 of them, that's quite all right with us.
That's right. You don't want to have go fever. You want to do this right and by the book.
Exactly.
I do want to say, I mean, can you imagine if you were actually sitting in a capsule right now, you would have heard this go, no-go pull in your headset. And I think, at least for me, this is where it would have just completely broken out in goosebumps, just knowing that the launch
I am right now.
it would be so exciting.
All right, and now all eyes are on New Shepard. We're into our last-minute checks. They are underway as New Shepard comes alive for flight. We have just a few minutes to go before final check, so why don't we take a moment and walk through the booster and some of its key features. We did a little bit earlier in context of similarities and parallels to New Glenn, but let's focus on New Shepard. She really is the workhorse of the journey to space. As we mentioned before, New Shepard is powered by the BE-3 engine that's essentially fueled by water, liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. It propels the rocket to space and restarts for a controlled pinpoint landing on the pad. It's also uniquely throttleable, and that means it's able to slow the booster down to just about 8 kilometers per hour or 5 miles per hour for landing. And you can see at the top of the booster there's the ring fin, and the ring fin houses the drag brakes as well as the wedge fins. The wedge fins for stability, drag brakes to really cut down the speed. You'll see those will cut down the speed in about, that will cut the booster speed in about half. The drag brakes are critical, right? We talk about the balance between the engine and the booster's role in slowing down the rocket, but really it's just some simple aerodynamics from the drag brakes. The aft fins, as you can see towards the bottom of the booster, stabilize the vehicle during ascent, but also steer it back to the landing pad on descent. And they're actually strong enough to guide the rocket through airspeeds of up to Mach 4. And you think, we talked about earlier about the winds aloft. Those are critical, those fins, in making sure that we get our rocket precisely back to the pad. Lastly, we have the landing gear. So all rockets take off, but not all rockets land.
Yeah.
And as a fully reusable rocket, the New Shepard booster uses landing gear that deploys just in the last seconds for touchdown.
That's right. I mean, this is an incredible machine. You know, kudos to Gary and the team that have spent, you know, all this time designing it and getting it just right. And like we said, this booster design and all of the components inform so much of what we do here. We talked about the similarity between this and the first stage of New Glenn, of course, and the similarities there with the aerodynamics and the design. You know, it's the same propellant combination and a similarly derived engine for the upper stage of New Glenn, so obviously lots of design heritage there. And we talked about, of course, all the great learnings that we've applied to our descent element as part of the lunar lander. So truly, you know, you can almost think of New Shepard as a sort of that first path of the roadmap, and then it just branches out to all these other things that we've done.
Exactly. And we should also mention the reusability element of it, which is critical, right? With our vision of millions of people living and working in space, we need the ability to turn the rocket around quickly, reuse it again, bring down the cost of access to space. All right, you're looking at a live shot of New Shepard on the pad. We are T-minus 6 minutes to go until flight. Why don't we take a look at her?
So we are T-minus 6 minutes, and yes, Rihan, that is the replica of the capsule. So that is the actual size. So we are T-minus 5 minutes, and finally the countdown has been resumed, and we are now just waiting in for the testing to happen for the aft fins as well as for the gimbal test for the engines. And let's go. It is finally happening, and we have this to support us throughout the journey. Let's see what do we have in here. And we are T-minus 5 minutes until the launch. It's getting interesting. Although it will just go up and come down, but the landing part is always interesting, and especially for this rocket, because this the landing of this one is pretty interesting when this rocket lands, because it hovers. It's not like SpaceX, in which it just touches down. It hovers and then touches down. So yeah, We will see that last minute checks also. We are go for the launch. We just heard the poll also, and we are go for the launch. Weather is not an issue. Whatever issue they had with the technical point of view, they have resolved it, and we are go for the launch. Just sit tight and relax now, because it is finally happening. And for the next flight, you will actually see the astronauts inside it, and the astronauts will go in and experience the space for the first time. Monu Chaudhary asked how much distance it will cover. The apoapse, which means the highest point of its trajectory, will be around 120 kilometers, which is actually the 120 kilometer is the best estimate. Okay, it can be below that, but it is above 100 kilometer, that's we all know. So you can say it's between 100 to 120. We are T minus 3 minutes 34, and everything is looking good. And now just hear the rocket sounds.
15th flight to space. You are looking at a live shot of New Shepard. She's just about to begin her final preparations for her 15th flight to space. We are at T minus 3 minutes and 10 seconds to go until launch. So for those of you that are just joining us now, earlier in our show, we showed our astronaut experience crew rehearsal. Very exciting. That all seems to have gone perfectly well. And now we're ready for New Shepard's flight itself. So at T minus 2 minutes, the rocket is going to go into autonomous mode. We throw the show over to her, and the rocket is in charge of itself from liftoff, its entire flight to space, and its landing back, the rocket itself on the landing pad just 2 miles north of the launch pad. In just a moment here, we are going to see the engine gimbal check, as well as what we call the built-in test, the bit checks. We want to make sure that we can move the aerodynamic surfaces freely so that they, just like an airline pilot does before his or her flight, to make sure they've got free range of motion. We also, at the top of the tower, of course, have the gantry that will also retract.
That's right. And Ariane, right there on the gantry, you see these big sun shields there. You know, one of the, if you have 6 very large windows, like you said, and 60% of the capsule is actually windows by volume. There you go.
There it goes, the retraction.
Retraction right there. So we actually need those shades there just to keep the sun out of the capsule. We want to make the astronaut experience as comfortable as possible. We want to keep them in a nice, cool temperature. As I'm sure we don't want it to turn into a greenhouse with all of this big, beautiful windows. So what our team did is actually put these shades in. It makes it a great experience. And then, now if you or I were in there, we'd be looking out and just
ready for launch.
Yes.
Ready for launch. A simple but beautiful solution.
And we can
right,
see the aft
fin checks.
Wow.
4 of those fins at the base of the rocket.
This is happening, guys. T minus 1 minute and 10 seconds now. It's finally happening. I'm really very much excited for it.
Out here, you see the nozzle peeking out of the base of the rocket there.
We can see the gimbal now.
Check.
T minus 50 seconds now.
The engine gimbal, of course, is critical, but in particular as it's coming into land. And Patrick, that takes us to launch for a T minus 30 seconds. Why don't we hand it over to Mission Control for New Shepard's 15th flight to space? It's going to be worth the wait, man. Godspeed, New Shepard.
T minus 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11,
T minus
10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Command engine start. 2, 1.
There we
Beautiful
have
liftoff
it.
from our launch site 1 in West Texas. You can follow along as she gains speed in the bottom left corner of your screen. There's the speedometer, altimeter in the middle there.
Wow. Finally, it has happened, guys.
First milestone on her trip to space, max Q. That's when the dynamic pressure on the vehicle is at its maximum, the toughest point in flight for the vehicle. And max Q is confirmed.
Right now, the engine is still firing, although we can't see it, but yeah, it is firing. Those were the contrails. That is completely nominal, and it is in the flight now. It's going to the space, and it will cut off its engine in a bit of I mean, at T plus 2 minutes
right
and
about
40
this time in your
seconds or
flight,
so.
You know, on ascent, you're going to max at about 3 Gs. We've noted it before. The max Gs that you pull as an astronaut on New Shepard actually is on descent. So here on ascent, it's about 3 Gs, and it comes on gradually as you go faster and get higher up there. Until, of course, main engine cutoff and separation, and that is when you get to feel those beautiful 0 Gs. We're waiting for that here. Next stops, MECO and separation.
It's 1,600 miles per hour already. Is going in 113,000 feet. Is going up and up and up, and we will have to see and wait it. It is happening, guys.
MECO, main engine cutoff. So far, a clean burn from our BE3 engine. There it is, main engine cutoff.
Main engine cut off, and now the separation should happen in just 4 seconds from now. And here you go.
All right, appears we have lost the link to the J layer. So far, though, everything appears
So
to be
this is the
nominal.
animation
So
going
far,
on,
what
guys.
We have seen a clean liftoff. We did have max Q, maximum dynamic pressure. That is essentially for the rocket the hardest point in the flight. And then we had main engine cutoff, and now, as you can see, separation. Here we've got our infrared camera, especially on the left side. As you've seen earlier in the show, it is a little hazy down there in Texas, so we are going to rely on multiple cameras here as the vehicle continues its ascent towards space.
All
We have
those
passed over
Kerbals
just
are
about
enjoying
here
right
the
now.
Kármán line, there it is. 100 kilometers, or about 328,000 feet. If you were inside there, Patrick, you will have become an astronaut.
Right
And
now
we're
they are
just waiting for the
experiencing
two crafts to
0G.
hit their apogee. You'll know they've hit apogee when the speed hits 0 in the bottom left corner of your screen.
Exactly. So right now they have the capsule and booster has been separated. They are coasting it towards, and we have the
There it is,
apogee.
apogee just at about 346,000 feet. Of course, we're going to have official stats for you after the flight via Twitter, but so far so good, Patrick. Looks to be a nominal flight of New Shepard. You see the booster on the right and the capsule on the left. This is when they've begun their descent. As we've seen in the past, obviously the booster is going to beat the capsule down to Earth as it's more better aerodynamically shaped.
Exactly. Everything is looking good, and now the booster is coming back. The next event coming up is the wedge fins deploy, which will actually use to stabilize the booster stage. And since the booster has a bit, the booster stage, you can say is not very much aerodynamically breakable, so it comes down fast.
And thank you again,
in
everybody,
the
for
capsule.
joining us live for New Shepard's 15th flight to space. We are 5 minutes into what appears to be so far a nominal flight for New Shepard. We, of course, preceded the launch by what appears to be a perfectly executed astronaut experience rehearsal. While there are no astronauts on board today, that was a critical step towards our march towards first human flight.
Everything is looking good. And now we can see the capsule as well as the first stage coming back.
Up our long-range cameras again. There you see the booster, the bottom of the screen, and the capsule on the top. At this point, the booster is re-entering the atmosphere. It means it's going to have air pressure against which those aerodynamic surfaces.
And we have the wedge fins deployed
against to guide the rocket back to its landing pad. And to think this rocket will have peaked at almost Mach 4, and it's by the time it touches down, it's just going to touch down at about 8 kilometers per hour or 5 miles per hour. So relatively
so
speaking,
we can now see the
landing.
booster stage. It is coming in hot
we
now.
Talk about reusability. The softer the landing, the quicker you can turn it around, right? You're not jostling the rocket, you're not jostling the hardware. You want to be able to flip it around nice and quickly. So there you see the aft fins. We also call them the pie fins because they're shaped like pie wedges.
Get ready for the landing now, guys. We can see those effects, the air effects there. Wow. There we have the drag brakes deployed.
All right, there go the drag brakes. And there you see all the speed leading off of the vehicle and waiting for
Sonic boom.
our BE-3
And
engine to relight. There it
there
goes.
we have the relight.
Landing gear deployed.
And hover. Wow.
Oh, look at that smooth landing. And touchdown. Welcome back, New Shepard.
Oh my God, what a beautiful landing,
I think
right?
that was one of the smoothest landings I've seen of this rocket. It almost looks unreal.
Right.
It looks like CGI. I know some of you on the internet seem to think that. Believe me, that is a reusable rocket that takes off and lands. What a beautiful landing.
It looks like it's ready to go again.
Yeah, just, put in those drag brakes, put in the wedge fins, fuel her up, let's go again. But until then, the show is not over. We do have the crew capsule here. On board, we have Mannequin Skywalker, as well as a couple of payload lockers filled with postcards from Club for the Future, from students from around the world. We are waiting to see the drogue chutes come out. They will be followed by the main parachutes.
So we have
And a
the
little wink
capsule
from one of
on the
those
view.
Big, beautiful windows.
And
Look at
here
that.
you go, the
There go
drogue
the
chutes
drogues.
deployed. Mains deployed.
And here come the mains. All 3 parachutes are out. We're looking for full inflation, and there they go. I love that.
And now finally the retro rockets will fire just before the touchdown.
So far, so good. A nominal launch, nominal landing for the booster. We're waiting for the crew capsule to come into land. We're at about 1,600 feet to go. And a nice smooth descent at about 16 or so miles per hour. Just at about 25 or so kilometers per hour. That is a nice smooth descent. There's the valley of our West Texas launch Site 1 as we call it. What a day so far, Patrick, let me tell you. Now,
16
at
miles
800
per
feet to
hour.
go here, we should remind everybody that we do have the retro thrust system that kicks on just in the last moment. Basically, it just creates a nice air cushion for the capsule so that if you, next time, hopefully, when you and I are up in that capsule one day, we are going to be getting a nice air cushion underneath the capsule.
And we have the touchdown.
And touchdown.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Absolutely spectacular. Patrick, I told you it was going to be worth the wait. Look at that.
Definitely. I love you. So you can just see it just as it lands. You see that puff of air and it kicks up all that dust, but it's just such a gentle landing right there.
A beautiful launch and landing for both the crew capsule and the booster. Team Blue, congratulations to all of you. What a day. You should be so proud. And again, Patrick, soon, you know, if you're an astronaut on board, that is going to be a ride of a lifetime. Cannot wait
The
to
rocket
check out
did
those
not
onboard
look
cameras to see the views
good there. I mean, it was leaning a bit, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
I know,
it is leaning a bit. It is leaning a bit.
All right back around, right? We started the day, you know, as exciting as this launch is, we actually started with, you know, the astronaut rehearsal, sort of on top of the normal launch preparation. And now we're going to bring it all back. Those same stand-in astronauts are going to go back out to the capsule. Once we open the hatch, they're actually going to get in, and we're going to practice and rehearse, essentially getting the astronauts out safely, getting them back into the van, have them reunite with their loved ones, and that's when they would go off and celebrate this sort of incredible experience they would have just had.
Exactly. It was the leap. Yeah, it was actually not that smooth also. I mean, first of all, when the engine ignited, it was like a bit shaking, and I have seen a more smoother landing. It was around with the NS-13 mission, and that was smooth as butter, I must say that. But it was not that smooth. But yeah, if you compare the NS-14 mission, it was smooth. But although we can see the booster is a bit leaning there. Don't know whether there was some issue with the landing gear or what.
It is, you know, we put them in, but then they come out again, and it's just this elation. And to think, you know, next time, you know, it's coming up soon, when we start, you know, putting people in that capsule, you compound it with a launch to space and back. With a boat full of adrenaline, you better believe they are going to be absolutely psyched and ready to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Well, so the recovery process is underway.
And there we have the depress on the rocket.
The capsule has landed. We do have the recovery team, which includes a couple.
So to answer your question, how fast does the jet pulse slow it down? We don't have the actual statistics, as in how much is the thrust or what is this capability. But what we know is that if it is going in for at 2 parachutes also, then also the jet pulse can compensate for 1 parachute. That we know. So
out of the capsule, newly minted an astronaut, as we mentioned, it is time to celebrate. Now, simultaneously, we also have another
Belfast child
heading out to the booster to safe the vehicle and get it back to the barn. I mean, we joked about the quick turnaround. Obviously, we're not flying again today, but it's the keeping the costs of spaceflight down. You have to work on the operations, get those tight, get them quick to be able to reuse the vehicle as much and as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. That asset turnaround is absolutely key there. And again, the point of today's flight was to mimic the astronaut experience profile under real launch conditions, right? Astronaut loading is complex, launch is complex, doing them both together is super complex, and doing them well, and you saw that happen today, is going to be a huge step forward.
Patrick, what a great day. Actually,
Lincoln, as just answered, we don't have the actual stats, but
so we have New Shepard on the pad there, a nice ignition. And a clean liftoff. Look her go. That rumble, you can see it in the cameras, and when you're down there in Texas, the whole valley feels like it's shaking when that 110,000 pounds of thrust is lit underneath the engine. And this angle, Patrick, this is one of my favorite angles. It's very reminiscent of, you know, the Saturn V taking off from the pad. during the Apollo days.
Absolutely, super, super reminiscent, super vintage look. Now, this angle right here is one you would not have seen back in the Apollo days. But this is the kind of the cool thing about having these drones up there, so you can get these beautiful shots of the rocket just going by as it's flying up.
So close you can touch it,
I
right?
know.
All right, here comes the booster back for its soft landing. Again, Patrick, I think this is one of the smoothest, most controlled landings I've seen from this rocket.
It makes it look easy.
It's like it's just dangling from a string.
That bounce was not good. And it was so slow, then also there was a bounce. The hovering mechanism actually adds one extra layer of safety.
In the engine is you can really sort of dial that thrust in and ease your way down onto the launch pad.
Exactly. And talking about we were talking earlier about the lessons that we're taking from New Shepard and pulling into New Glenn. That throttle ability on the engines is critical. And then last but not least, of course, our capsule with a nice air-cushioned landing. And you can see, actually, the parachute's dropping pretty close to the capsule, meaning there's not too much wind there out on the ground today, which is beautiful. And now live shots from the recovery team that are out there. You can also see, again, we're in preparation of bringing the stand-in astronauts back. We're going to get them into the capsule so that we can practice the egress and taking out of the astronauts from the capsule. Again, coming to you soon. This has been such a
yes, sir, Blues Traveler. So I was telling Lincoln, we don't have the actual stats, but what we do know is that the parachutes, there are 3 parachutes, right? So they have tested this thing also, that if 2 of the parachutes also deploy, then also the retro rockets can compensate that. So that is the power of those. But we don't know what was the actual dropping speed, but if you are thinking about it could hurt the back or something like that, so they have 3 mechanisms. Okay, first of all, look at the stats here.
Incredible job, as well as Sarah Knights, our crew member 7. All right, some mission recap statistics
so
here.
106 kilometers
the official ones after the flight. Maximum ascent velocity 3,600. Maximum ascent velocity 3,615 kilometers per hour. Crew capsule apogee, its highest point in flight, 106,021 meters. Mission start time, 11:51 a.m. Central Daylight Time, and mission elapsed time, 10 minutes and 27 seconds. Just an incredible day.
Very cool, very cool. And to commemorate today's launch, you can definitely pick up some of our official NS-15 mission patches and other really cool swag from our shop. And you can go to shop.blueorigin.com to do that. There's a lot of cool things out there. I saw the mission patch earlier. It has the silhouette of the 4, stand-ins there. It's extremely cool. Yeah, there we go. I think Gary is the one on the left there.
Yeah,
maybe?
exactly,
I'm not sure.
exactly.
But it's a cool one. I'm definitely picking up one of those right after this.
Fantastic. So with that, Patrick, it is time to close out the show. Thank you so much for being my co-host.
Always my pleasure. Thank you
for
for having
wonderful
me.
launch. As I told you, worth the wait for all of you as well. Thank you for staying with us for the whole flight, New Shepard's 15th flight to space and back. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram for all the latest updates. And please continue to stay safe out there. Until our next launch, as always, Gradatum Ferociter.
Okay, so there we have it, guys. We had a beautiful liftoff, although there was some glitch before the liftoff. We had to hold till 38 minutes or so, but finally we have a liftoff, and everything looked nominal. So asking about, do we know what is the nominal MPH? Nominal MPH as in what? Ascent or descent? And yes, I also wanted to it would be great to know whether it is safer on the ground or on the water. So if they release some stats, I would also be very curious to know. Thank you so much, Viklo. John, thanks for the feed. It was great. Appreciate it. And right now although okay, so to sum up the launch, we weren't able to see first of all the last part, which was to again go inside the hatch, then close the hatch, and then practice the egressing of the crew. Although other than that, we could see the rehearsal, the crew rehearsal before that. And just a sec. And talking about the landing, that was a bit bouncy. First of all, see this thing, when it actually started this engine, it was not in control, but finally it was able to control itself.
Our BE3 engine to relight. There it goes.
Fins were able to actually, you know, the landing gear, and then this hovering actually adds that extra layer of safety on it, because then you get some time to slowly descend. But then there was a bit of bounce and was a bit of spin also. We missed that. See, the last minute it actually what the hell, this spin, there was a bit of spin also. I mean, that was a bit unexpected, and obviously the spin was not supposed to happen. And we could also see that it is a bit leaning also. That is the case. But at the end of the day, it is a standing on the launch pad, and it's not a very big rocket also. So they will be concerned about if there is an issue with the landing gear, then also it is all good. We can see that this landing gear is not properly deployed or what. It's like a bit pressed down here.
And touchdown. Welcome back.
But that spin was a very bit unexpected, you know.
Oh, look at that smooth landing.
And a bounce also. Okay, so yeah, that was it. So yes, to sum up, this they had a beautiful liftoff, the capsule separation, and then we have the landing and the capsule landing also. Everything was good. So this, if this was successful, this was the final flight before they actually fly humans on board, and we can actually see the humans flying on this Blue Origin rocket maybe in this year only. So let's hope we see that, because human space flight, humans on board a rocket is always and always good. So yes, thank you so much, Lincoln, for that $2 super sticker. Thank you so much, because it really helps the channel to stay alive and helps me to, and motivates me also to go along. Great job. See you on SN15 flight. Hopefully we get to see that flight. Octograbber, thank you so much. And spin may have bent the landing gear. Maybe. Also that spin, it actually looked like a spin, or was it landing gear being retracted? I don't know. Let's just see it once again. Is there a spin, or the landing gear actually retracted?
And
just slow it down. Yep, there was a spin. Actually, the spin can happen. I mean, if you look at the surface area which the landing legs take, I mean, the point of contact is very small, so there is not very much amount of friction which can actually control the rocket. Also, when this rocket is propulsively landing, the fumes is you can see the black spot on the landing pad. That fumes also causes some because that is water only, right? Water is only coming out of it, and water is bit slippery, so that spin could be because of that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is standing on the pad, safe and secure, and now will be recovered also. So it was a successful flight, and yeah, thank you so much for joining in. I think I can now end this stream, I suppose. Just a sec. Let me just change this thing. I always change it at the last moment. Just a sec. Yes, okay, done. So thank you so much for joining in. We can get back on with the SN-15 flight hopefully on 20th. Otherwise, the SpaceX will be launching their Falcon 9 rocket also, and we can hopefully see the GSAT launch of the Indian Space Research Organization also. So let's hope that this month we can have some launches, because this month was a bit dry on launches, so we can expect something. So thank you so much for joining in. Until then, this is Priyanshu Roila. You just saw RocketGyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and